You heard black is beautiful, sweeter the cherry, the blacker the juice.
Ah, you can see I've been in the sun. I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get there.
Your voice is strained this morning. You okay?
Yeah, no.
Not
Just
really.
allergies, allergies, allergies. I got my water right here. Water, water. I'm trying to drink from this fountain behind me.
Oh, a vivid imagination there. Oh man, my
God,
little
Monday morning, everybody.
God, Monday morning.
God, Monday morning. Assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. We are, I don't like to say retarded because, everything starts on the time it's supposed to start. So let's get started. Brother Fleming, why don't you bring us in?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. And assalamu alaikum to each and every one of you. And we thank Allah for this day and this moment in time. We'll start with Al-Fatiha, opening chapter of the Holy Quran, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Mhm. Again, God, Monday morning, I am Cheryl Sudduth, and that was our brother, Fleming El-Amin, co-host of MAP5. I'm changing your name as we speak. And also Sister Amatullah Alaji-Sabrie, also MAP5 co-host. Uh, I'm moving things around on my screen. I like to have you guys at the top of my screen. It's something I like to do so I can see you better. And then I want to welcome first and my sister Jamila Smith-Foles, our WCC USD board trustee back. And we've had her here before, and I love to have her here during the beginning of the school year. And I love her here in August. And before I bring her here to talk to you about our topic of the day, we are going to do what we always do.
Okay.
We want to chip away at that big old ice glacier.
Mm-hmm. Chip, chip, chip.
Chip, 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 chip. And then I have a news item I want to share with you all. But we're gonna start there first. And since Jamila is back in the fold, I'm gonna call her a guest. She's a friend of the show. She's an amiga, a chica of the show. So
Chica.
I'm going to let one of my favorite chicas on and off the show program. I'm gonna let her pick the number. Miss Jamila, you get to pick the question of the day. And the question of the day is you get to pick the number between 1 and 37.
Seven, huh?
Mhm.
Added more questions to the pot, huh?
I did. And um, in that number, I will tell you the question.
Good morning, everyone. I would like
Morning.
to I would like to pick number 13.
Oh, you guys love that number 13, don't you? All right, all right, all right. Okay. These are our wild card questions. So, in the wild card, to explain to everyone again, those who may not have been with us before, wild card questions, there's 3 different sections. There's memories, there are general questions, and then there are insights. That's why we have so many questions. And so there could be more than one number 13. And guess who gets to pick which one of the number 13s? That would be. And so your question this time is, I get to pick a good one because I like to pick ones that you haven't heard before. Describe yourself in 3 words. Did you put your head down? Describe yourself in 3 words.
You want me to go first, sis?
Yes, ma'am.
I would say I am an interrupter, I am Black, and I am a mother.
Like it. I love it. All right. You too. Let's start with, okay, Sister Amatullah. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Okay. I guess I would put mother also. Wife, friend. That was 3. Mother, wife, and friend. Pass the ball to Fleming.
Yep.
But
All right, now I have to think about that one for a second. I would probably start off by saying listener, communicator, grandfather.
What's your 3rd one?
Grandfather.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one kind of faded. It's me. I just need to turn it up. It's not you, it's me. Like they say. All right. Let's see. Anybody else want to participate? Sister Manira, Brother Ishmael, Brother DeLacy, Brother Muhammad. 3 words. Sister Manira, you came off mute. Come on.
Encourager, resourceful, and mother.
All right, all right, all right. Brother Ishmael, Brother Muhammad, Brother DeLacy, what you got? Go ahead, Brother Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Alaikum
assalam.
assalam.
I am Sheriff.
He's the sheriff.
Well, be careful, because I shot the sheriff. But I didn't shoot the deputy. And what else?
Sheriff Muhammad.
What else? You get 3. You get 3.
You got
brother.
2 more. You got 2 more, Brother Muhammad.
Oh, wow.
You get 3.
Okay, next would be I am, what's the other word? What's it, Sheriff, right?
That's 1.
Yeah, that one.
You got 2 more.
The other 2 will be in the same area of I guess I would say my name, Sharif. Sheriff, Sharif, and Lawman.
Ooh, scared of you. All right.
All right.
It used to be a TV show years ago. I guess I'm really telling my age. The Lawman with Chuck
What?
Connors, I think it was.
What was it called?
The Lawman, I believe, with Chuck Connors.
That's
Rifle.
right. That's it. That's it.
There you go. Oh, there he's holding up his badge. Okay.
Guess I come to New York again, Brother Spree. I'll let you. That was a rifleman with Chuck Connors. I used to watch it all the time with his little son
Mhm.
Yes.
back in the day.
Wait, the name of the show was called The Lawman?
No, the rifleman.
Oh, the
Rifleman.
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 That's right, the
Rifleman.
Rifleman.
Oh. Oh, wait. Right. I think no, I don't remember that. I was about to say I think I remember that, but I'm lying.
It's old black and white movie. It's before your time, sis. Don't
I'm
hurt
lying.
yourself.
I'm lying. I ain't telling the truth. I ain't telling the truth. I don't remember that. I don't remember that show. I don't remember the show. I remember the other one. The one with the brothers.
Bonanza.
What's that?
Bonanza.
Yeah, he used to come
Bonanza.
on Nick. He used to come on Nick at Night in college.
Mm.
Bonanza.
Yeah, Bonanza.
Yeah, that one.
Little Joe, Hoss, and Adam.
Hoss. Hoss. Was Hoss the big one?
He was a big one.
Yeah, that one. I remember that one. That one got me through college. And the talking horse. What was the talking horse's name?
Oh
Mr.
boy, I
Ed,
remember.
Mr.
Mr.
Ed.
Ed, Mr.
Mr. Ed.
Ed, Mr. Ed.
A horse
Yes,
is a horse, of course, of
horse,
course.
of course.
Everyone knows
Yeah.
what a horse.
Because I
Okay.
thought it was ridiculous. That one
That
and the
was
one with
funny.
the twin cousins.
Patty Duke.
Mm,
Patty Duke.
mm.
Because Sister Jamila, look, I was studying genetics and I said, don't make sense. This don't make sense. But it was on in the background while I was studying. So, yeah.
Mm.
It's the
You
only
know,
thing that was on at 2 a.m. Go ahead, sister.
Dr. Sudduth, it's one of those things that when you ask the question, describe yourself in 3 words, and those 3 words came out, and then I was listening to everyone else and I started reflecting on that, and I said, black is what the world made me. An erupter is what the world deserves, and a mother is what the world gave me. So
Right.
that's just a little bit, I wanted to round it out a little bit because it's a very good question, because it gets to the root of, however long we've been traveling around the sun, right? This is my 49th time around the sun. And, there's a lot of layers to all of the things, but if we just had to break it down into words that we use, and we all used English, right? Words that we use in English, and it was a very good question. I'm going to take that to my children and I'm going to ask them because they are at different stages going around the sun, right? 13 years, 21 years, and 18 years. And I want them to write it down and then revisit it every couple of, every 5 years around the sun and see if those are still the same people that they are, if they've given the world something different that changed it, or the world gave them something different that changed it, or if they've just morphed into something different. So thank you for that. I'm complete.
Absolutely. These are meant to, and thank you for that, because these are meant to make you think more than just the surface of the question. Yeah, so Honorable Trustee Smith Folds and I, we spent a lot of time contemplating and speaking, not just talking, but just talking on a different level. And one of the things that we spend a lot of time talking about is parenting things, right? Things on how to parent, especially these new age children. And so my 3 words, and I always start with mommy. We had this discussion over the weekend. I always start with mommy. Because out of all the titles that I hold or people give to me, that's the one that I hold the closest. It's the one I hold in the highest regard and the highest respect, and is the one that nobody can take away. Nobody can take away. Wife,
I'm gonna
you can
have to caution you again, Honorable Dr. Cheryl Sudduth.
No, I'm speaking truthfully though, sister.
Okay.
I'm just being real. You can become
All right.
an ex-wife. You can become, anything can happen to a wife. I'm not saying that to be flippant or to anything. I'm just saying that's one that can change. Anything, any other title you have in life can change, except for mommy. They can't take that one away from me. They can't ever take that one away from me. I birthed these children. That was the gift that that was bestowed upon me. And that's a blessing that that can never be taken away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hold that blessing in high regard, and I'm very thankful and grateful for it. Yeah. So that's what I mean by that. I don't mean it. I honestly don't mean it in any negative way or disrespectful way. I just mean it. I just hold that title really high. I can have, the elected title can be taken away. The only thing that can't be taken, you can't take my intellect. Now I might lose my mind one day. But the fact that that I birth these children, and the children yeah. So mommy, another one is mujerón. Mujerón is Spanish for the song Bad Mama Jim. You ever heard of that? Carl Carlton. She's a bad Mama Jim. That's the PG version of some other words that I would say in Spanish that I'm not going to. But it's like chingona. It's just mujerón, mujerraza are words. They mean woman who lives her life on her own terms, or she lives it with this kind of, very similar to the word that you use, Sister Jamila, like when you want to say like disruptive, or you say interrupter, I say disruptive, right? Or daring. It's that kind, right? It's like that fearlessness. It's like I'm not that. I don't fear, but you live it on your own terms. There's kind of like mujerón. I live life this way. And then I think the last one is it's kind of hyphenated it's a hyphenated word because it's something my grandmother used to say. You're built different. It's a Southern term, Jamila, who's from Alabama, so she knows this word, and I know that you guys have roots in the South. And Brother Fleming, you still over there. We say East Coast, but that's the South.
I've been around a little.
You've been around a little bit.
I'm proud North Carolinian, though. Proud.
Yes. So you know the term built different.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So when somebody says you built different, it just means that, like my grandmother used to say, you come from a line of women who are built different. You handle things, you don't, you're blessed with the ability to be a different type of resilience, a different type of strength, different type of in Spanish we say soy de otra contra. It means you come from a different. It literally means you come from a different stock. You come from a different fiber. You come from a different way. You're not built from the same way. You're not made from the same fiber. But you're made different, and so yeah. That's how this kind of the question. So anybody want to change, or you want to keep it?
Can I take 30 seconds?
Absolutely. and we're going to get Jamila back. She was in her car.
Oh, yes. It made me think about two things, actually. The people in the neighborhood call me Father Abraham. And I've been with my wife 6 times in the living room to, just be with her. That's one level of myself that, I'm sort of known for. we've been a provider in that sense. But what really came to my mind in terms of professional development, I do a series called 3-in-1 with teachers. And it's to see themselves in 3 different capacities and to see their students. Because we're all 3-in-1. We have a physical body, yes. We have a mental capacity, yes. But our most long-lasting characteristic is your spiritual component. And it takes years to evolve into that. So we all have the 3-in-1 in us. And I thought about that when you said 3 words. Because every human being has that capacity. We just evolve in different levels along the way by the grace of the Lord. Inshallah, just 30 seconds is up.
I love it.
Finish.
All right. Where is my, I have some, I have an update I wanted to give you because I wanted to bring Sister Jamila in because, all right, Sister Jamila. All right. So if we don't have any more audience comments, I want to bring Sister Jamila in to start this conversation because, as I mentioned, it's August. And the thing about August and back to school is that traditionally, we talk about back to school in this, people talk about backpacks and school supplies. I don't, this is, but more than just traditional back to school supplies. We want to talk about Black August. And Black August, if you know what Black August is this commemoration of Black freedom and resilience and political prisoner struggles traditionally. But it's also for Black parents and Black caregivers and those of us who are talking about education. It means we anchor education in Black culture and the pride of Black culture and in mental wellness and community advocacy that sees Black children and children of the diaspora. And we help them navigate the system and avoid systemic and racial the traumas of systemic and institutional harms that occur in the school system that can cause them racial stress, mental stress, all of the things that have been happening in our school system. So it's more than just, oh, do you have the right pencils? Do you have the right books? Do you have the right backpack? Do you have the right water bottle? No. Are your school children and are your parents and caregivers? Do we have the right tools to make sure that our children and our parents and caregivers prepare for the school system? Because what we found, especially during COVID and the years that followed, was the answer was no. And so what I spoke to Trustee Smith-Foles about was, how do we use historical grounding, the traditions of study and the disciplines that started way back before both she and I were even born, back in the Black Panther movement, right? To set some intentional academic and personal growth goals for students and caregivers. And while we look at the systemic realities of what's happening in our school systems, so that we can reduce these stressors that our children and our Black administrators and our Black teachers and our Black trustees, such as she is, are experiencing, including some of the microaggressions in the school system. And how do we take collective care? What kind of resources are needed and what kind of peer networks for family support are needed? I know it's a lot, but I wanted to introduce the subject. And there is one more thing before I let her go, because when she gets started, I'm not interrupting her because, you know, you guys have had her on, we've had her on the show before, and you know how she is. When she gets started, and this is this woman right here is let me see. Here we go. There's something I wanted to share with you. Today, I ran across something that I wanted to share news-wise. This came across my feed it was on social media, but it came across my LinkedIn feed. And I wanted to share this news with you because I thought this was fantastic. There's a kindergarten teacher. His name is Azel, they call him Zell, Prather Jr. And Washington, D.C. He's a fourth-year teacher, and he is making sure his students remember their first teacher by going the extra mile to help them feel seen and special. And what he has done, he has taken Maya Angelou's quote, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And I'm going to share with you all, let me share the screen. I'm going to share with you all what Zell is doing for these little babies. This is how you act with a teacher. I mean, this is how you share your gifts as a teacher, as a first-year teacher. I am very impressed with this young man. So he said, "I'm doing a self-care day at my school for my students. Shout out to all the people who donated their time and skills, haircuts, hair braided." He got them haircuts, braided their hair, did their nails, and
They be doing the little haircuts and nails and hair done, man. Look how I got it set up. That's what they gonna come get their little haircuts. They gonna get their little head did right here. They little bows in.
now look at the reactions.
Oh, girl, let me see. Oh, Journey. Yes, indeed. Show him, show him. Yeah, Journey. Yes, indeed.
Oh,
Good people.
They call me the mayor.
Get my boys together.
this is in his classroom. And then
Oh my. You still got it. You like it? Yes, sir. He said he still got it. Yes, sir.
so this is what he done. And the children, as you can see, are just ecstatic. And he does this, like I said, he's a fourth year young, which is beautiful, a fourth year kindergarten teacher. And he has started his own foundation. And he provides these young people from underserved communities with the resources they need so they can become really successful leaders. He said, "I believe if you look good, you feel good. And if you feel good, you do good. I just want them to feel good for the holidays." And so he also, in addition to this, so he does this thing where he calls it the holiday hookup. So he does the self-care. He has 40 kindergarten students. And so he tapped into his network. He bought hairstylists and barbers and nail techs and other volunteers. And he just gave these little young people a day of pampering. And he told them because he believes that they deserve it. And he talks to them inside and outside the school. And he gave them the fingernails, the edges, the everything. And you saw the little girl with her hair braided. And then he does a day where he does his name is Zell, I told you. So he did Zelf on the Shelf toy drive. instead of Elf on the Shelf for the children for their holiday. And so and then he made sure every child got gifts, not just in his class, but throughout the entire primary school. I thought it was important to just frame that for the discussion because what Dr. Jamila is going to talk to you about is also along these lines of how do we personalize education for our little children who look like us. Dr. Jamila Smith-Foles has been on the West Contra Costa Unified School District. She's a board of trustees. She was elected in 2020. And so she's rounding out her sixth year of the second year of her second term, but 6 years on the board. And having served as both the board clerk and the board president, really good friend, mother of 3, wife of just over 20 years, an Alabama native. You will hear that Alabama come out in a minute. She's a formal educator, but she has a kind of old school mama wisdom. So not just a school educator, but what we call, Brother Fleming, especially in the South, mama wisdom, right? She channels. You hear me say a lot about mi abuela and my mama, and you're gonna hear her talk about her grandmother and her mother the same way, which is probably why we vibe so well. Welcome to the show, Honorable Jamila Smith-Foles.
Thank you very much. I'm not a doctor yet, but I believe that you call those things that are not as though they are. So one day I will be Dr. Jamila Smith-Foles. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. I apologize. My office is in my car, friend. So my phone overheated. So I had to jump out of the car and get onto the home computer. And when I'm in the house, I'm mommy. So everybody starts buzzing around me, wanting something or needing something. So I try to escape to the car. And then the world just didn't want me to be great today because the sun was beating down on my phone. So I am back into the house. And if you see me do this, it's because I'm talking to a child. And I'm like, go, don't, go, no. So it's a pleasure to be here. I think I should start at the beginning, laying a foundation. And the foundation is never go to the person who hurt you and think that they're going to heal you. The school system that we now exist in was built and framed to hurt Black children. So it's not going to heal Black children. If they wanted the achievement gap to close, it would have been closed. If they wanted Black children to sit at a high level of success in this system that we currently have, then they would already be it wouldn't be just 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. The people on the screen would not be the exception. We would all be the example. So because we are, they heighten us up as exceptions, that means that the system is still creating, it's doing what it was built to do. And a system of educational whiteness is one to where Black children have a hard time succeeding intentionally and on purpose. So what the brother is doing in his kindergarten classroom is he's interrupting that system, and it will push back on him. He is interrupting it because his Black students are smiling and they are walking around with their head held high and they're walking around in confidence. And what he is doing is creating an atmosphere that many of our parents and grandparents grew up in, where your educator looked like your mother and your educator looked like your father and your uncle, and your educator looked like the same people that you went to the mosque with or went to church with, or so there was a different level of expectation. There was a different standard. It was, you're going to do this because I said you're going to do this, and I know you're going to do this, and I'm going to love you to that standard. I'm going to push, pull, whatever I have to do to get you to where I know that you can be, because I'm not going to lower that standard. I think that we always need to understand the legality behind education. you know, Brown versus the Board of Education did something, but what we don't talk about is what it also did. It integrated our schools, but it left behind our teachers and our administrators and our support staff and all the people that our students needed and our scholars needed to help them be the best version of themselves. So when you don't integrate your teaching staff and your administration staff, your principals, your vice principals, your support staff, when you don't integrate them as well as taking our children and integrating our children, then you create the chasm. When they talk about Black achievement gap, that's when it started. Before that, we was outpacing everybody. And we saw in COVID, when all things became equal, when everybody was shut down and everything became equal in education, we started outpacing them again. It's systems. It's the system. And when the system is no longer becomes a barrier to our success, then we outpace everybody. That's in everything. That's just who we are. That's who God has created us to be, because we are his template, right? So that's the foundational things. So Dr. Sudduth, that's what I just want to lay, that's what I know to be true. As an educator, as a student, as a mother, as someone who has lived in this skin for 49 years, someone who was raised by my parents and who were raised by their parents, and we can go all the way back to the beginning. That's what I know to be true. I also know to be true that my background has led me to watch patterns. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just know patterns. If you did the same thing as someone who had the privilege of whiteness, if the system did the same thing 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago, 25 years ago, that's a pattern. That's a pattern of behavior. So that's where I get all of this. That's where I can stand 10 toes down on some of the things that I say, because show me different, right? If you can prove to me different, then I'm willing to be wrong. But if you cannot prove to me different, then I will stick with what I know to be true when it comes to the white educational system, because it is white based. It is money based. It is not in the care of our children. And we have to know that going into it. I'm complete.
Well, I tell you, see, that's why I don't interrupt you. So talk to us about some tools and resources that are available to parents and caregivers. And we're going to talk about students next, right? Parents and caregivers from the onset that will prepare them, us, I should say us, to get ready for this school year and this new phase. And let's start with, I want to start with K through 6, and then we'll go middle school, and then we'll go high school, right? Because at each phase is going to be different, right? The children are going to experience something different, and even, boys are going to experience some different girls, because girls are mean from 5th grade to 9th grade. Something about us, we turn mean. That's that mean girl phase. And don't nobody want to talk about it, but we know. We know from being at the school. I know from just working with girls as mentor. The society turns us into mean girls. And so how can we work as parents to support our students, and then support the administrators and teachers? First of all, what's the difference between an administrator and a teacher?
So your administrator would be your principal, your principal in an elementary school. And I'm specifically talking about West Contra Costa, because that's what I know, right? Different districts do different things. If you're all over the country, you may have it done differently. But in West Contra Costa Unified School District, your administrator would be your principal in elementary school. It's your principal and vice principal in secondary. Secondary for us is your middle school and your high school, right? So in your elementary school, your principal is your administrator. They are the managers of the school. They're supposed to be the educational leaders in the school. They are supposed to be they hold it all together. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to protect the site. They're supposed to set the standards. They're supposed to ensure that the teachers are doing what they're doing. The teachers are the ones that are in the classroom in front of the students. Your administrators are not going to be in front of students all the time. They're going to be working with parents. They're going to be working with support staff. They're going to be walking around your campus. They also manage your custodians and your cafeteria workers. They manage the school. Your teachers are managing or educating those 20 or 30 students that are in their class. In elementary school, they have one set of students, one teacher. They may have, depending on the academic leveling of the students, you may have some aides in that class. You may have some one-to-one aides. You may have a classroom aide. But you have one teacher of record. The teacher of record is in charge of, they hold the liability. The teacher of record holds the liability. If something happens to Jimmy in that class, the teacher of record is going to be held accountable. Not the aide, not a parent volunteer, it's the teacher of record. So, and then it goes, the principal is going to be held accountable, but it's mainly the teacher who's inside that classroom. They also, for secondary, they hold the grades, right? They hold the ledger of sort. In elementary school, you get grades, but it's more of they've turned from, we used to get the A, B, C, the S for satisfactory, the NI needs improvement. Now it's more of a narrative report card that they do in elementary school for WCC USD. If you move to secondary is where you have multiple teachers. That's where you have your class periods. First period, I have math. Second period, I have English. Third period, I have. So when you go to secondary, that administrator, your principal and your vice principal, they do the managing. Mostly your vice principal will manage things differently than your principal. So the vice principal may manage discipline. The vice principal may manage testing. The vice principal may manage attendance. The vice principal may manage culture and climate. Your principal manages it all. They manage the manager, which would be the vice principal. And the students, the teachers, you have about 6 different teachers, sometimes 7, depending on the way your class schedule works, and the way the primary schedule for the school works. Some schools have 7 periods in element or middle school and high school, secondary. Some schools in WCC USD have 6 periods. You'll have 6 different teachers. You'll throw in a PE. In elementary school, they get recess. In middle school and high school, they get physical education or some equivalent to that. When you go to, so what they don't tell you is middle school grades don't count. They're not going to fail a middle schooler. They have to socially promote you. So middle school, in my opinion, is the most dangerous part of education in WCC USD because they're not going to have a 15-year-old 8th grader. They can't, right?
That's everywhere. That's everywhere.
So they're going to have to socially promote you. And that part of middle school, in my opinion, should be so heavy on skills and not on content. It needs to be heavy on skills. Do you know how to emotionally regulate? Do you know how to advocate for yourself? Do you know your learning style? Because you have 6 different teachers that you have to now, instead of that one teacher in elementary school, you have 6 different personalities, 6 different rules, 6 different ways of having community with other people, because you're not going to have the same kids in the same class. So there's skills here. What's conflict resolution look like? How do you stop it before it starts? How do you sit in a place to where you can say, you know what, I need a brain break because all of this I'm not getting. Right? It's too much. I have too much going on. Secondary and high school is where it's at. High school, you start your 9th grade year and you're off to the races. You have to get your A to G credits, and then you have to have a plan. You have to know what you want to do. And it's not something that you can discover your 11th grade year. You need to know what you want to do. If you want to be college bound, okay. You don't have to know what college, but you have to know that you want to be college bound. 4-year university. If you want to, I think that our plan should be in WCC USD, everyone is college eligible. You don't have to go, but you're able to if you want to. You are college eligible if you want to. I think all of our plans should be that you are workforce eligible if you want to, which means you know how to fill out a resume. You know how to do an interview. All students know how to do a resume, know how to do an interview, know how to talk to a boss, know how to fill out a W-4, know how to how it's not if you show up when you want to show up, you show up late once at work, you fired. So it's these things, skills based. Dr. Sudduth, I hope that answered your question about, well, let me say this. That's how you asked a secondary question. What's the difference between administrators and teachers? Did I answer that question?
You did, and I'm glad you got into this because that's a good segue into my next question for you that I wanted you to go into. So you over here cribbing my notes. Because my next question was on this, coming out of middle school, going into high school, was on what do young people need before they graduate high school. So you already started it. So I wanted to break it down. And so parents, takes notes and record it, write it down, do whatever you need to do because and you started on it. So and I noted 6 things, and I wanted to talk to you about these anyway. So, and I want you to kind of break them down. So the ones that I kind of noted were self-discipline, resilience, adaptability, emotional intelligence, curiosity, and accountability. So can we go through those? Let's go through those 6. And then Sister Amatullah, Brother Fleming, if there's something I miss, jump in. Okay? But so of those 6, those key personality traits that we need to have work on with our students, because they'll be teenagers at that time, right? And they're going to be coming out of high school. I mean, my daughter's 16, my son was 17, but still, they're going to be adults at some point. And they need these core traits to, as you said, you're going to be managing independent schedules. You're going to have to cope with academic or personal setbacks. You're going to have to adjust to changing environments. You're going to have to build healthy peer and professional relationships in adulthood. You can tell which people at your office developed these skills when they were 13, 14, and which ones did not. Simply by looking at how they behave when they're 62 in the building and which ones didn't, right? They didn't get a raise at 62, and you can see when they were 12 and they didn't get first chair in the orchestra and they pitched a fit, and they didn't get a raise at 62 and they pitched a fit. So let's start with self-discipline. What is self-discipline, and what is that trait, and why? How do they develop it? Things like, like managing their time and meeting deadlines. You just said it. So can you break down what does self-discipline look like in a teenager?
So there's a couple of things. One, as a parent, when you have your child, the first thing you should do is add 10 years. As soon as they come up, add 10 years. Is that how you want them to be when they are 10 years plus? So when I had a 2-year-old, is this how I want her to look at 12? If it's not, I start changing it now. Ma'am, use your words, because at 12, I want her to use her words, right? I want her to ask permission at 12, so I teach her to ask permission at 2, right? This is some of the things I did with all 3 of my children. I add 10 years to their life. I have a 13-year-old now. So when she's 23, I don't want her to tell what they say white lies, because I don't want you to tell one at 13. Tell me the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and tell me every detail. Don't think that you get to decide what detail is important and what detail is not, because you'll tell me everything about that TV show you watching. But then when I ask, did you do the dishes? Then it was like, well, yes, but then I still see a cup in here. Well, then you didn't do the dishes. You did all of them but a cup. That's not doing the dishes. That's doing it. So tell me I did all the dishes but a cup. But that's how I want her to be at 23. So that's what I'm trying to model and get her to formulate it at 13. When it comes educationally, what I want all my children to know is all of the 6 pillars that you talked about can be covered under the 4 agreements. I want them to understand, soak in, and model out loud the 4 agreements. 1, your word is your bond. That takes care of everything. Your word is your bond. If you say it, you mean it. If you said you're going to do it, you're going to do it no matter what. So always make a plan, never a promise. I tell them, make a plan, don't make a promise, because your word is your bond. If you plan to do something cool, if you promise to do it, you're doing it. So your word is your bond. 2, don't make assumptions. Use your mouth. Ask somebody. Don't assume anything. Ask the question. 3, your 100%. Do your 100%. Stop looking left. Stop looking right. You run your race and you do your 100%. Your 100% can look different than my 100%. This is your 100%. You're running your independent race, and I'm cheering for you. I'm also going to call you if I know you do a 99 instead of 100. Do your 100%. So your word is your bond. never make assumptions, do your 100%. And the fourth one, I'm having an elder moment, friend.
Oh, please.
Don't take it personal. My 13-year-old just yelled it to me. She said, don't take it personal. Yes, that's the one that I think if it's something that I want every preteen to teenager to know, don't take it personal. It's not about you, boo. They was going to yell no matter what. If you was there or not, they was going to yell because they own one. Don't take it personal. This is also what I want to tell teachers. Don't take it personal. You in their space. You're in a space to where they are not able to fully communicate with you, and every behavior is communication. Teachers, you have to know that. All behavior is communication. It's just like a 2-year-old. When they throwing a fit, it's just they can't come up with their words. When they throwing something across the room, it's they can't emotionally regulate. They can't regulate. They can't tell you that they're sad, they're upset, they're nervous, they're whatever. So teachers have to have a higher level of emotional intelligence than their students. Parents have to have a higher level of emotional intelligence than your children. They're not mad at you. They mad at something else. Mad is a surface. Mad is not the it. Mad is the feeling. Mad is how it comes out. Anger is how it protrudes out, how it flows out. But that's not the it. Ask the underlying question. I learned in college, critical pedagogy. Ask the question under the question. Ask the question under the question. For example, we took our daughter to get new shoes for school. And she got into the car and she was like, well, can I draw on these shoes? Absolutely not. I just bought these shoes. You are not about to draw them, but she wanted to draw on them. So she was, we used to call it in the South, she was pouting. She was pouting. She wasn't mad because she couldn't draw on the shoes. She was mad because we didn't have a full conversation on what getting these shoes was like. She's like, well, you know, I like to draw on my shoes. At the end of the year, you let me draw on the shoes. Child, at the end of the year, the shoes had 3 holes in them and your toe was sticking out. You can draw on that all you want because we're just trying to make it to June 3rd. But it was one of those things. She, at 13, was wanting a conversation. She was wanting some boundaries and some framing around it. And my assumption, because see, I broke one of the 4 agreements, I assumed that she knew my standard for me putting my money behind this and for me wanting you to present yourself a certain way on the first day of school. That was on me. So her pouting, I had to get to the underpinning of that. And the question under that was, now see, if I was a child, my mama would have stopped and put a belt on me because I didn't say thank you quick enough after I got a brand new pair of $60 shoes. She would have been like, girl, you better fake a smile because I didn't spend $60 up in here and had to deal with these people in this mall. The new parenting was like, okay, I'm going to let her have her feeling. You can pout, but I'm not going to let it stay bound inside of you. Let's have a conversation about it. You still gonna be wrong, and you better not put pen to them shoes. You better not put a pin on them shoes until May or June. But we can have a conversation about how you're feeling, the process of what that is, and I can learn something. I can learn that as my 3rd child, I still need to be in communication. She's just not going to automatically know that that's where I'm coming from.
Well,
so
tell her, Haven, this is what my mom did. I got the expensive shoes that I had to wear to school. But do you remember the shoes we used to call white girls?
Yeah.
Them old canvas shoes. We used to call them white girls. That's not a racist thing for anybody listening to this later, because that's what we call them. Everybody call them that. It's those little canvas pointy shoes. And I like to draw on my shoes too. My red head. Maybe that's the red hair. And so my mom would buy me a new pair of shoes because we all did it. We all drew on those shoes. But those were the shoes. So we get the shoes that we had to wear to school, and then we get a pair of those that we could draw on. So that was the compromise.
It's a
compromise.
Well, but it's a conversation, right?
It was a conversation.
She took her shoestrings and she put beads on them. Cool. You can put beads on them. You can bedazzle them. But as long as it's removable, I'm cool with that. But so
we used to do that. We used to do that.
It's one of those things that when you're talking about self-discipline, what does it look like in the classroom?
What does that look like?
When I'm talking to students who have a high level of emotional intelligence and self-discipline, they're able to articulate. They're able to tell me, even if I'm talking to a 6th grader and they're telling me on a 2-year-old level, I can still say, you're telling me something. So what's going on? I'm mad. Okay. That you're telling me I'm mad. All right. Now let's dig deeper. Why are you mad? You have to be mad about something. Let's talk about why you're mad. And then I help them prompt it out. And their self-discipline is they're sitting there and they're going through it. They're working through it. They're working through the steps. Now you can do that also at a high school level. When they in that office and they got their hands crossed like this and they're muttering under their breath, they're just like the sixth grader. They're just like the second grader. They mad. And instead of when you have principals that come in there and when they already at a heightened state, you're not helping them. You're doing them a disservice. Let them process. Just like when we get mad, we need to process. Just like we need to know how we express our anger. We need to know that all of you who have in marriages or been in marriages, your partner, your husband or your wife knows when you get to that point, leave them alone. Come ask them questions, put a hand on their shoulder, whatever they need to be able to do. But they had taught you that. So we need to teach our children. Tell somebody what I need 10 minutes. If you talk to me now, I'm not going to be able to be my best self. I need you to call my mama. I need my mama to talk to me. My brother is in the other class. Go get my brother.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that if we have students that I taught at a continuation school. When my kids got mad, they reverted back to their home language. Whatever language that is, they reverted back to their home language, right? We accepted that as teachers when they reverted back to Spanish or French or Arabic, but we didn't accept it from our Black students when they reverted back to their home language, and their home language may have had something else too, a little spiciness to it. Then we like, that's disrespectful, but that's also a home language. They're just trying to tell you something, or they're just trying to be heard. And a lot of it, 90% of emotional regulation comes from, is someone willing to hear me?
Right.
Is someone willing to accept however I deliver my language, however I deliver my feelings? Is somebody willing to accept that? Teachers and administrators and school sites could learn a lot from therapists. A lot. Therapists, we pay them to be quiet. I've never seen it all my life. You get paid $1 million to be quiet because therapists. Oh, sorry, my Zoom just kicked back on. We pay them $1 million to be quiet, and therapists, for the most part, sit and they let you talk yourself into your own answer. You're paying somebody mostly to listen to you, talk yourself into your own answer, because when you leave, you think, oh, that was a good session. Well, you talk 90% of the time. And what they came up with, it was probably something your mama did, or something that your parents did, or something that happened to you, and you just talked your way through it. We need to take that lesson of just allowing people to talk in the school system into the school system, from the outside world into the school system. So and when I walk into a classroom, if I know that students are self-disciplined, they are doing a lot of thinking and a lot of talking. They're processing. It's self-discipline looks, how do you process? If I go to a child and I know that child has self-discipline, I'm going to ask them, how do you process? And they're going to tell me. When I'm angry, don't talk to me. When I'm happy, I want you to share that joy with me. When I have something to say and I raise my hand, please call on me, because I don't talk a lot. So when I raise my hand, that means I really have something to say. And I have, I want to be affirmed in that. I think we should give kids the same lessons that we do with our boyfriend or girlfriend. What's your love language? Kids have love languages. What's your love language? What makes you feel safe? What makes you feel seen? What makes you feel honored? When is it, when I talk about this, that I need to make sure that I'm looking at you because you know about it? You know about it. Billy, if I'm talking about basketball, I'm going to look at you because I know you know basketball, and that's your time to shine. When I see Sister Sudduth in the classroom, if I mention anything about science, that's her. Back up. She's going to talk about it. She's going to get excited about it. She's going to know. For my own daughter, my oldest daughter, you mentioned an animal, move out of the way because you done push that. You know those little dolls we used to have called Chatty Cathy's? You pull the string or you push the button or whatever. You have to know your children, and your teacher should know your children. So my last step for parents, when you have your child at any level, kindergarten, TK, now we say traditional kindergarten, all the way up to 12th grade, my teachers get to know me, and I tell them about my children. I give a letter, and then I go in person and I tell every last one of their teachers about my child. If her head down, there's a reason. Call me. She don't feel good. It's not being disrespectful. She don't feel good, so she gonna put her head down and she gonna close her eyes. If you're talking about animals, call on Irish. That's her time to shine. She is an introvert, and she is an academic student. She will never do anything wrong. So if you call me and you tell me that my 21-year-old from TK, well, she had kindergarten, they didn't have TK then, from kindergarten all the way to her senior year, if this principal called me and said, my oldest did something wrong, I said, you are not telling the truth. Because she would not. She would not. She just followed the rules. She was a rule follower. Now, if the school called me on that 13-year-old, that black redhead, I said, I'm on my way up there. There's a story. I need to see both sides because I can't just automatically assume that she didn't do it. There's going to be a reason behind it, but she might have done it. For my middle one, she's not going to do anything either. If she does, she's going to tell on herself. My first one wouldn't have did it. The middle one would tell on herself. The middle one would have called me and said, Mama, I did this. The middle one called me when she was in high school and said, I skipped class. I was like, where you at? She's like, outside the class. And that's not skipping it. Go in the room, girl. Go in the room. And she was like, oh, the door was closed. Knock on the door, get in the room. That's not skipping school. That's not skipping class. That's just standing outside the door. You was just late. You was late and they closed the door on you. Knock on the door and go in. That's the kind. Know your children. Only one child walked on water and ain't nobody on here named Mary. So know your children. Know who your children are and then tell the teacher. Tell the administrator so they will know that I'm telling you who they are so you can't call me and tell me who they are. I'm telling you these who my children are. So that's some of the things that I would do. My last child, I have 2 in college now. My third one is going into the 8th grade. We're getting prepped. She starts school tomorrow. There is a letter that we type out every year. It's her emergency card letter. It's because here's the thing. When you're in heightened sense, you can't remember everybody's phone number. They're not like us when we were kids. We knew everybody's phone number. We knew our grandparents. We knew the neighbors. We knew everything. So type it out. She has all of our phone numbers listed. She has everybody's email address listed. She has her grandparents. She has all of that. And she keeps it in her backpack because if she's ever in a state of heightened emergency, all she has to do is pull it out. We practice. Just pull it out. Don't say nothing. Pull it out. And on the bottom of that letter says, if there's a discipline issue, do not talk to me. Call my mama. That's what it says. Don't talk to my child without me being there. I don't trust the system. And I'm in the system. I don't trust the system because the system is filled with humans and humans are fallible. Call my mama. Call my mama. So these are the things that if you have a student out there, parents, let me tell you the one line you need to go over with them. Call my mama. Call my mama. Call my mama. It's just the same thing if you are in a sense of, if you ever get in trouble with the law.
That's right.
Plead the fifth. Don't say nothing.
Call my lawyer.
Call my lawyer. Don't say nothing. At that point, when you're 21, they can't call, they're not going to call your mama. Call my lawyer.
Well, their mama is their lawyer.
That part, right? So it's one of those things that these are the lessons that we have to teach our children. And I also want parents to understand, again, don't trust something that is set up to harm. Don't trust a system that's set up to harm. They have to prove it to you. You don't have to trust them. You don't have to go in with this open arm. I trust you. I believe in you. I think that you're going to do good. Absolutely not. You need to go in armed, right, and make them earn your trust. They have your children. They have your most precious gift. Don't just give them away. Don't just give them away. The final thing I would say is and this is for elementary, middle, and high school, when you get your children back in your house, ask the right question. Don't ask, did you have a good day? Don't ask that. Ask the right question. They have no idea about what your definition of good is, right? You ask the question, did anybody cause you harm? Physical. Did anybody make you think less of yourself today? Did anybody make you get you to icks, right? Did anybody that just didn't feel right? Were you treated differently than everybody else in the room? And why, where, and how? If everybody else got a red crayon, but you raised your hand for a red crayon and the teacher said, I don't have any more red crayons, Jamila, you're going to have to wait. Well, wait a minute, ma'am. You gave everybody else a red crayon. You should have counted them red crayons out before you started handing them out to people. These are the things that we have to have conversation. And it goes all the way up to high school. It's really important in middle school and in elementary school. Did somebody call you a name? Anything but the name that you have. Did someone call you a name? Anything but what the name that I gave you, did someone call you that? And then did your teacher pronounce your name correctly? When you walk by the administrator, did they have a chance to look at you? Did they look you in the eye? Did they have a conversation with you? Did they engage with you? Education is about relationships, and your child is owed a relationship moment every single day. Who spoke? What adult spoke to you today? What grown person spoke to you today? Okay, tell me about middle school. How was middle school today? But not how was middle school today. What did you do? What did you learn? Tell me something different how did you become different today than you were yesterday? See, the key is we're not babysitters. Educators are not babysitters. Babysitters mean I drop you off, give me my kid back, and don't break them. Give me my kid back the exact same way I gave them to you. That's babysitting. Education is how are you better today that I sent you to this institution, to this system, than you were yesterday? They're supposed to be adding to you. Adding, not subtracting, not dividing, adding and multiplying you. That's their job. And if they are not doing that, then we need to hold them accountable to that. I'm complete, sis.
So I love this. I love this. So when we talk, let's talk. You just hit on one, accountability. This. So I got a lot on my head and going through my head. So we spend a lot of time, and I'm going to talk to the audience in with regards to everything that was just said, because Muslims, Christians, and Jews, especially those who are faith-led, we teach discipline. Are we good on teaching discipline, self-discipline, whatever? And translating that to education, to the school, and then as parents or caregivers, using that from there, right? Because we're real good at talking about, oh, read the holy book, read, say your prayers. But the type of discipline that we'll need, going back to the pillars, the 4 pillars, and then the 6 I named, the type of self-discipline that you need. I mean, we're even good at saying it when we make sure our children are participating in sports and in after school activities, but not so good when it comes to the self-regulation that they need for those core inner traits for themselves. Because as parents, we still got this control over our children. We think they're our children instead of themselves being individual human beings. Like you, I look at them like, they're human beings. They don't belong to me. I don't like that, my children sounds slave language to me. But they're human beings. So teaching self-discipline, things like managing your time and meeting deadlines and completing tasks without my constant supervision. I started them in Kuman when they were very young. And I put the clock on, I walked out of the room. Either get it done when the clock go off. If it ain't done, you got to talk to Miss Greta when you get to Kuman on why you didn't get your Kuman done. And Miss Greta she had no mercy. Did you finish it? If you ain't finish it, when they went to Kuman, I sent them inside. I sat in the car. Miss Greta don't have any mercy. I paid the big bill. She gonna sit there and make you stay in there 2 or 3 hours. It's the same as your coach. When you go to baseball, basketball, football, track, tennis, gymnastics, cheer, debate team, chess, the orchestra, whatever we put you in, you still got to have that self-discipline. You were late for prayer. I remember you and I talked about this when you missed curfew and you stayed out too late Saturday, and then my mother came in at 6 a.m. talking about get up and take a shower. We going to church, early service. Like, I have to go to early service before. But nobody told you stay out all night on Saturday. We going to Sunday school. And you still had to go to church. It's your fault. You stayed out all night Saturday night. You still going to church. It's discipline. It's the resilience. It's how do you bounce back from failure? Whether it's a low grade or it's a friendship that failed, or that social rejection that we were talking about in middle school, where especially this generation where they're seeing so much online and you have this high degree of self-harm, right? They're cutting themselves, and it's this Gen Z and now Gen Alpha, they're experiencing these high rates of suicide. We have never seen anything like this, where these children are from the COVID babies, is what they're calling Gen Alpha, and they're harming themselves. So we have to teach them we talked about this last week, right? How do we not just tell them, but model resilience? That you're going to fail and it's okay. That you are not your biggest success or your worst mistake. And that's where the adaptability comes in, where, you know, if there's a new routine or you have a new peer group or something changes. You're experiencing this now with the high school. You experienced it 2 years ago when the elementary school was closed down and they had to shift to a new school. And now they have to shift to a new high school while this high school is being remediated. So I want to talk about that one really quick, about the adaptability and the resilience. Those two kind of go together. How are we teaching them that? Because we have parents who are screaming, and we have that in several school districts, not just in California, but across the country. Brother Fleming, you can speak to this too, that parents think that, oh no, we've got this natural disaster, and you know, the tornado has come through, or we have these floods in Texas, or we found, as in these schools that Trustee Smith-Foltz is going to speak about, or in Oakland, Sister Amatullah, they found, you know, they had to shut down these schools because we have lead in the water, or we found these harmful toxins, and we have to shut down schools. So now we got to move children around. Oh, their whole high school year is going to be, no, it's not. So I'm not going to keep them in school because school is harmful, or because tornado swept through and the whole school is gone, just because you think that life is ruined and they 12 or 15, or like what happened with COVID, which was really the bellwether. That became the North Star for how we deal with resilience and adaptability. So I wanted to get you all talking about that one.
I think that one of the things that we have to understand, I was always taught as a child reared in the South, everything is a lesson that God would have you to learn. Everything is a lesson that God would have you to learn. I think that we do a disservice to everybody in a system when we think the system is so rigid and it's going to be what we think it is. I think one of the things that we have to learn to do, and we have to learn to teach our children, is you are disappointed, and you are disappointed because you are mourning the expectation that you had in your mind. You're upset. You don't know what's going to be at the end of this journey. You have no idea, because you can't look around the corner and you can't see towards the end. But in your mind, if something goes wrong, you are mourning that disappointment, right? Well, I thought I was always going to be a 4.0 student. Okay, well, you're mourning that disappointment. That don't mean that you can't go to college. That doesn't mean that you can't get a good job. It just means that you're no longer a 4.0 student because you got a whatever. So what I need you to do, young man, young lady, whoever, process that. Process the mourning of what you thought it was going to be. As a mother of a special ed student, I had to do that. I had to mourn the expectation that I thought that I was going to have, right? And then I had to adapt, or just understand, or know that everything is a lesson that God would have you to learn. I'm a better mother because I have a special ed student. Everything is a lesson that God would have you to learn. I'm a better trustee because I know the system inside of a system. There's an education system, then there's an education system for special ed students. There's a system inside of a system. I got the opportunity to learn that because I had a child with special education needs. Everything, and that child is now off to college. Everything is a lesson that God will have you to learn. Adaptability should be code for, sis, this is what it is. I'm gonna need you to listen. If you got to cry through it, you still got to get through it. So it's one of those things. There's this story, the difference between the buffalo and the cow, right? The buffalo, when they see a storm, the bison, the buffalo, when they see a storm coming, they run to it. The cow runs away from it. You're not going to outrun a storm. You're not, and the buffalo knows that. So they just say, let's get wet, because we have to go through it. We're not going to outrun it. The cow spends all their energy outrunning it. And by the time that storm hits them, they're so exhausted from the race. Go through it. You're going to have to go through it. And that does not mean that it is going to kill you. It means that it is going to teach you. You're going to get taught no matter what. You're going to get taught. Life is going to teach you no matter what. Sometimes you just have to step. I tell you what my daddy said. My daddy said, turn around and face the barking dog is usually on a leash. Turn around, face the barking dog because it's usually on a leash. It's the same thing I taught my children. It's the same thing I taught my children. Now, my oldest child has zero social media. She's 21 years old. She has zero social media because I taught her if they want to come bully you, make them find you. Make them do what they used to do when I was a kid. You got to come find me and PE if you want to come fight me. You got to come know my schedule, know if I'm at school. You got to do the work before you come bully me. And again, if she don't know about it, if you're going to be a keyboard gangster, she's not going to know about it. You're not going to harm her self-worth. She ain't never going to see it. She don't have no social media. You're going to have to come find her and tell her. And she also learned very quickly that you don't take what somebody else says as truth. Sarah don't like you. Well, tell Sarah to come tell me. Why Sarah let you tell me? If Sarah don't like me, Sarah can come tell me. It ain't going to make no difference. It is not going to move me. That's self-worth. That's knowing that. And it's practicing that in middle school. That's where you really got to see if it hits middle school, because they're going to need that in high school. They're going to need to be their own best friend. They're going to need to be able to get lost in a book instead of the drama that happens, right? Because kids in high school are practicing adulthood and they do not do it well. They do not do it well at all. They're awful at being adults in high school. One of the reasons is we don't teach them. But the other reason is that's their training ground to make mistakes. When I was in high school, my mother told me, don't talk about your girlfriend's boyfriend because they're going to get back together. And then she going to stop liking you because you done talked about her boyfriend. So when she come to you crying and mad and saying that he the worst person in the world, just sit there and listen, because don't give your opinion, because the next day they're going to get back together. And sure enough, those girlfriends, that little friend group, the people who downed her boyfriend, just like she was downing her boyfriend, when they got back together, the only friend she had left was me, because I was like, listen, you like him, I love him. I'm not about to get inside your drama. If that's your drama. I also told my kids at a very young age, when they would be like, Mom, I need to talk to my friend. Why? Y'all both drowning. Who talks to another drowning person? Find a lifeguard. If y'all both in the pool and you both drowning because you both can't swim because you both 14, why would you talk to her about anything? She don't know nothing. Your other friend who is 14 knows absolutely nothing because she's 14 too.
That's
Talk
right.
to somebody who's been through it. And she would look at me. She was like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it does. Don't talk to a 14-year-old about your problem. They 14. Find somebody who's not 14 to talk about your problem. Now, you can share your joy with your 14-year-old friend because they understand that. You can share some of the things that they understand. But if you have a problem that you need an answer to, don't go to somebody who don't know nothing. That's a
Exactly.
skill. That's a skill. Sis, if I had legal trouble, I would not go to my next door neighbor. He's a carpenter. I will go to a lawyer because I have legal trouble. That's a skill that we need to start teaching children. It's one of those things that teach what you want them to know. If you want them to know this, then you need to teach them this, and then you need to allow them the time to practice. We don't give people enough time to practice.
Or grace.
Or grace. School education is about practicing. We all didn't come out knowing 2 times 7. Those of us who went to good schools, you had it every morning. Your teacher would say good morning. You would stand up and you would say good morning. They would rote memory. 2 times 7 is now 14 because it's rote memory. We had to practice for years and years and years. It's rote memory. My husband knows don't leave them socks in that living room floor because I've yelled for 10 years. It's rote memory. Now he knows if he can leave anything else, but don't leave them socks. He can leave anything else, but he leave them socks. It's going to be something different.
See, hold on. See, Sister Amatullah, it wasn't just me. Go ahead.
But it's rote memory, right? It's one of those. It's that rote memory that we have to instill in children about, are you able to be resilient? Well, have they practiced? Do they know that they can be okay if they fall? Have we taught them the skill of failing up? Whole book about it. Fail up. Have we taught them that skill about what it looks like to fail up? Have we taught them the skill of understanding that you don't have Dr. Sudduth, what is that complex where they think they don't belong in the room? We had to teach our oldest about that because they would have that complex. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I belong here. I forgot the complex, but it's a
syndrome.
I don't
imposter syndrome.
It's imposter syndrome, but I purposely blanked that out since I don't have it.
Yes. So but it's a skill we have to teach, right?
That's
Especially
right.
our Black students. When they walk in, they're the only Black students in advanced
That's right.
placement classes. They're the only Black students in international baccalaureate. They're the only Black students taking German 4. They're the only Black student. So they have to understand that imposter syndrome is a part of white supremacy.
That's right.
That imposter syndrome is white supremacy. We have to teach our children how to navigate whiteness. This is a system. My children, when they very first started elementary school, don't let nobody touch your hair. Don't let nobody touch your hair. That's your crown. Nobody puts their fingers in your hair. I have 3 daughters. Nobody touches your hair. Nobody tells you that you're pretty without telling you that you're smart first.
That's
and you
right.
correct them. You're so beautiful. Oh, but I'm smart. I'm smart. My child that I talked to you about that has special needs, she'll tell you in a heartbeat, I'm super smart. I'm talented. I'm smart. I'm funny. I'm witty. I'm courageous. I'm brave. She'll tell you all of that stuff. Now she'll tell you why she's crying because emotionally she's not regulating herself because that's part of her disability, but she'll tell you through them tears. She'll tell you through them tears. And to me, that is the discipline I want. Baby, if you got to cry through it, get through it. You a buffalo. Get through it. You'll be okay. Get through it. What you can't do is run away from it. And what you can't do is stop and let it take you. Go through it. So those are the things when you talk about self-discipline, that's where I am. That's what I would like people to know.
And it's interesting because this is exactly what my mom taught us to say. Anytime they tell you, because she used to say it when we were small, right? She's also very smart. And so we would repeat that mantra. So, all right. Thank you. This is what I was hoping for when we were going through this. And the last two, and then I want to get Brother Fleming and Sister Amatullah in this conversation. This one is always big for me, right? Is how do we make sure parents, especially, because and I know one way is expose them to everything. It was a mantra my mother used to say. You expose because I was like, wow, we did all of these things. We were in, we had instruments in our hand by the time we were 4 or 5. We were in every sport you could imagine. And we learned arts and crafts, everything. And it was, she said, because curiosity is one of those pillars, right? Asking questions, and you just mentioned this earlier about seeking a deeper understanding. And so asking the right questions and so what is some ways that parents can keep our students motivated to learn independently, to increase that curiosity?
So don't let the school be the first to do anything with your child. Don't let the school be the first one to introduce your child to a book. Don't let the school be the first one to introduce your child on a field trip to a museum. Don't let the school be the first one to introduce your child to a science concept, right? Don't let the school be the first one to introduce your child to knowing who they are. This is a system, and it's a system to produce quickly. You put in, output, input, output very quickly. It's a machine, right? So when I had children, I was the first one to tell them who they were, what they could experience, exposure. We would watch the new classical music, and I'm not talking about white classical music. I'm talking about Black classical music, right? My children understood how to clap on the 2 and the 4, right? They understood what character was and what integrity was before they got into the system. So don't let my children went to museums when they were little, right? We went exposure to zoos, and this doesn't have, there are things that are cost zero, right? They cost you nothing. Go to a public library, right? Go to some of these events. Parents have to research and understand that don't let the system be the first one to introduce your child to anything, because then they will be the first one to curate and cultivate exactly what that child thinks. Children are sponges, they soak up, right? So it's one of those things that to pique curiosity, you need to be curious. You need to be curious as an adult. When you're sitting in the car with your children, are you asking questions and having them ask questions? We do this game with my children. We still do it to this day where we will pick a category and then we have to go through the alphabet. So if we pick animals and everybody names all the A animals that they can do. When we go to B, everybody names all the B animals that they can do. It's curiosity, because then my oldest that I told you that loves animals, now when we play that game at 21, she says, are we talking about extinct animals? Are we talking about animals that still roam the earth? Are we talking about, can I give you different type of bovids? And I was like, Iris, what are you talking about? And she was like, well, you know, there's different categories and there's different families and all of these things. So her curiosity has grown into now that is her passion. And that, so we'll name, how many places can you name that starts with A? And when they were itty bitty, that taught them the alphabet because they had to be rote, right? We would do, when we go into the grocery store, curiosity again. When we go into the grocery store, I say, how much do you think this is going to cost? The one who gets closest to the price wins, right? Well, it's teaching them math, because how close were you paying attention when I was picking up those $5 Brussels sprouts, right? And then we added that to the thing, to the cart. And, you know, it's just, you are your children's first teacher. If they come in not wanting to know anything, it's because you didn't ask them anything before they got into the system. If they don't push back, and there's a beautiful way of doing this. Your children, let me tell you one quick story. This is how I wanted to become a teacher. When I was in 3rd grade, it was October. School starts in September in the South. So it was October. And we were sitting, and our teacher we were making the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, the little boats that Columbus sailed on. And then they taught us 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue and discovered America. I was like, cool. First, it's a rhyme. I like that. Second of all, I got this little boat I can take home and show my daddy. So I walk home with my brother, who was in 4th grade at the time. I walk home so proud holding this little boat, and I sit and I wait for my daddy till about 6:30, because he got home about 6:30 every night. I waited, he opened that door, and I just yelled, 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue and discovered America. Look at my boat. My daddy looked at me and said, how can you discover something that's already there? Blew my mind. And then we sat down and we had a 30-minute discussion, and he told me the truth. So the next day I went back to school and I looked at my teacher. I said, you a liar, pointed right in her face. I said, you a liar. Everybody in the class erupted. No, you can't say that. You can't call the teacher a liar. I was like, she lied. She lied. How you can discover something that's already there? And these kids just all came on me. They just jumped on me. And I'm a 3rd grader. They just jumped on me. And I looked at this teacher and she didn't have to say a word. I said, oh, this is an amazing power. So you can lie to about 30 kids and all but one of them believe you, because I went home and talked to my daddy, and you can lie, and that's an immense amount of power. I said, I want that power. And I can either use it for good or I can use it for evil, but I want that amount of power. And that's the reason I wanted to be a teacher. Now, I always used it for good, because I always told my kids, question what I'm telling you. I'm just a person. Check it out, research it, ask me some questions, go do that critical pedagogy. I did that as a teacher, I do it as a parent. There's a way that you question it, but question it. Now, I probably shouldn't have pointed in that woman's face and called her a liar, but I'm a 3rd grader. I believed you, I trust you. You was my teacher. You the 3rd person, 4th person on the list of people I trust. It's my parents, my grandparents, you know, my pastor, my teacher. I was from the South. And of those 4 people, you lied to me. That shook my foundation. It shook me. It shook who I was. And my daddy said, what? How you gonna believe that? He was like, he looked at me like I was crazy as a cuckoo bird. That don't even make sense. How do you discover something that was already there? And I'm telling him they didn't even teach us that part. They just told us 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue and discovered America. I didn't know that it was already, you know what I mean? So we're having these conversations. And right then in 3rd grade, I learned. And you know you learn because you don't make the same mistake twice. Never made that mistake again. When my professor would say something to me, I was like, show me 3 points of evidence. When my husband told me he loved me, I said, sir, prove it. Because I learned in 3rd grade, you can't take somebody's word for something. Now, some people call that trauma. I call that navigating my path life, my life path. That was a perfect tool to navigate my life path. I am where I am because that 3rd grade teacher lied to me. And my daddy told me the truth. And God taught me a lesson. Everything is a lesson that God would have you to learn. Don't just put your trust and your faith in anybody because they have a title. Her title was teacher. Her integrity didn't match up with that because she's fallible. She's a human. That's what I learned. And I learned it in 3rd grade, and it has shaped me into my 49th year going around this sun. And as a school board trustee, I tell the people the same thing. I can tell you anything. You better ask for some evidence. You better ask for some receipts, as they say. I'm a person. Did I wake up this morning and want to tell the truth? Did I wake up this morning with my character intact? Now, 99.9% of the time, my answer is yes. But there are those 1% that I wake up and I'm just saying, you know what? I don't know if I feel good today. I don't know if I feel like being good today. Now, I've also have the emotional intelligence. That's the day that I stay in the house. That's the day that I don't go out into the world. I stay into the house because, again, it's about, my mother said, you don't have to be kind, you have to be good. You don't have to be kind, you have to be good. So if I'm not feeling good, I'm gonna stay in the house. I'm complete, sis. I hope that answered it. Well, you know, a little bit of therapy, a little bit of personal life in there, but that's who I am. And that's why I am who I am.
Well, as I say each week, my halo is not round, it's oval. So and it falls off each week as well. So we working. God's working on us. And you just modeled the last pillar, which is accountability, taking ownership of your choices, your mistakes, and your obligations. So with that, Sister Amatullah, Brother Fleming, jump on in. The water is warm over here. As you can see, it's hot right now. Jamila then warmed up the water for you. So, thank you, sister. Always giving us actionable strategies and resources that we can use to help these teens build these specific traits and helping parents model the behavior, not just talk it, but model the behavior. So, Sister Amatullah, Brother Fleming, what you got?
Thank you, Sister Jamila. Always enjoy you coming on the program. You know, I listened to what you said, what you've been sharing with us, and a couple of comments. You're drawing on your experience, which seems to be a very healthy and stable home environment. As the trustee there at West Contra Costa County with the school board, how much thought is given to our current situation, particularly here in California, where we've had an explosion in homelessness and people being unhoused? How has the school board supported or directed the individual schools to deal with students who come from those real situations, even if they make it to school at all, you know, because, you know, sleeping in your car or couch surfing with your family, you know, or it's very likely that they won't make it to school. So how is your school board, if they are dealing with the reality of homelessness and children being unhoused, and how that impacts their educational life?
There's a couple of things. One, that the school board sets a vision. And the school board sets a vision. The superintendent is supposed to implement that. And our vision is that there has to be a high sense of belonging, because we know you cannot educate unless you feel safe. You feel like you belong there, you feel safe, you understand. So then we talk about the policy underneath that. We are a community school district. So we take money for being a community school, which means we need to offer community services. We need to have wraparound services for those students and families that cannot meet certain social norms that we all have placed in our minds, right? So we have conversations at the board level about, well, wait a minute, do we need to keep our uniform policy, right? Our uniform policy, wherever the elementary school, we have a uniform policy. The children wear the blue shirt and the khaki pants or the khaki skirt or whatever. How does this create a barrier for those people who cannot afford a uniform? Do we have something in place for those who cannot? So if you always ask the question, what about those who can't? And if you have an answer to that, then you have a system without holes. If you do not have an answer to that, then you have a system that has holes, and holes create biases, and biases create barriers, and barriers create a lack of learning. So then if we have a uniform policy, does the school create a place where parents can then come get the uniforms for free? If we all want to have fresh, clean clothes, do we have a spot where parents can come in on Saturdays and use our laundries? Do we have a laundries at the school? If we are talking about, here's one that's really, and I'll go to teacher training in a minute, but here's one. When you give out awards for attendance, who are you awarding? You're not awarding the children. It's not them that get to school. It's their parents or guardians that get them to school. So when you have attendance awards, what are you doing? Are you creating harm or are you creating good? Are you creating places for people to grow or places for people to feel bad? These are things that we have to talk about because we have to disrupt the system. No longer are the days where your mother walks you to school and holds your hand. Sometimes you have to drop your older brother has to drop you off and then they have to get to school. Why is the older brother getting punished for being responsible, for making sure his little sister gets to school? These are where we have conversations about the system. I tell you where, again, you saw massive differences in attendance and you saw massive differences in those norms is when we had COVID, right? Because everybody had a one-to-one tablet, everybody had access to the internet, everybody who had a home had ability to go in and get on school at 10 o'clock. So I could get my little sister on her computer and then I could be on time to school. But to your point, when you're talking about the unhoused, we had places, our system had places in the community that you could go and do your work. You could go and do your work because you had the tablet. You can go and do your work because you had a hotspot. You could go and do your work. So again, when we're talking about, I tell the superintendent, the way that I know that you are looking at everybody well is go through their day as them. How do you go through the day as an unhoused person in WCCUSD? Here's a question. Where does your mail go? Because we send things through the mail. We send your report card through the mail, your progress report through the mail. We send your class schedule through the mail. We send your papers, your opening papers to register, your emergency card, when you have to go on campus to register. We send that through the mail. Where does it go if I'm unhoused? If I'm unhoused, how do I get that mail? Well, the right way to do, in my opinion, would have, you know how they have post office boxes in the back of a post office? Then we should have that on campuses. We should have that on campuses to where that's where you pick up your mail. Here's an address. If you need, because to get a job, you need a what? Here's your address. Here's your address. You can use this spot to have your mail dropped off. You can use this spot to have, that's going through the day as an unhoused student. That's going through the day as an unhoused student. When we go through the day as an unhoused student, we don't put things like tutoring at the end of the day. Well, how am I going to get there? I have to catch the bus to be able to go to this, to do that. You should have tutoring. Remember, we used to have study hall built in. We used to have study hall built into our schedule. We used to have homeroom built into our schedule because that was thinking of a day of what all services can I offer you between these 8 hours that you're here. I should not force you to have to come after school to do anything. How can I feed you through those 8 hours? That's looking at it through the eyes of an unhoused student, looking at it through the eyes of a student that you're the oldest of 3 and you got to take care of. It's the same question that I have when we talk about our young ladies that go to school. Young ladies that go to school, period, menstruation poverty is a real thing. To buy a set of 24 pads costs you $15. And if we have the pads at school, but we only give them 2, and they've got a sister and a mama at home who also menstruates, what are we doing? How are we, again, if you have something in place, but you don't look at it through that person's vision, through that person's walking and asking the question, that's what we also don't do. We think we know the answers. Ask a student, ask an unhoused parent, what do you need? What do you need from our system? And then we need to supply that. It's a public school.
Okay. I appreciate your answer. I want to get this. All right, the beginning of the school year, I'm unhoused. This is the first time that my student is going to be going to a high school in WCCUSD. How do I find out that you offer these services that my student can take advantage of? I have twins, a boy and a girl.
So when you go, we have something called FIT, Families in Transition, right? So when we have a FIT office, family and transition office, and they offer those wraparound services. What should happen is when you go to the school to register your child, your twins, when you go to the school to register your twins, there's a conversation. Hey, what do you need? Well, I'm unhoused. Okay, here's our FIT office, our
Okay.
family and transition office. And if you get to this office or you stay here and I get somebody to you, they will then set you up with the resources that you need to be able to ensure that your twins have the education as everybody else has. If your twins want to play sports, remember, this is public education. It's free. We can't charge you for anything. That's what parents have to know. We can't charge you for anything. If your child, elementary school, if everybody goes on the field trip, your child get to go on the field trip. They offer suggestions. We have to know the language. We suggest you pay $10. That don't mean I have to pay $10. That's a suggestion. You got to pay for my child no matter what. It's free and appropriate education. I can't ask you to pay for anything in public education. In high school, we have those little badges that they wear, identification badges. If your child loses a badge, they say it costs $5. That's a suggestion. You don't have to pay for that badge because your child go to that school. So it's learning into how to navigate the system. You know, graduation robes cost money. We are supposed to supply them. You don't have the money for a graduation robe, like the people we go through, Jocelyn's or whatever that company is, they have to supply them. Your school has to supply the robe. So it's parents speaking up and knowing one thing: you owe my child an education. That's the first thing. Every child in the state of California is owed an education. You owe my child an education. If you start from that premise and you let them do the work, okay, my child gonna play sports. It's a free and appropriate education. Okay, my child wants to be in the band. In the band, we supply the instruments if you can't, if you don't have it. If you don't have an instrument, they supply them, and they don't rent them, they supply them. So it's asking those questions, and it's asking the questions without guilt, shame, or blame. That means that we have to have offices that don't look at you as less than because you are in a certain condition. My daddy used to say, everybody one paycheck away from being homeless. That's the economy. Everybody one paycheck away from being homeless. It's a customer service industry that we're in. Education is customer service. So we have to have that as our top value. For me, when I was president of the board, I said unreasonable hospitality. I want you to be unreasonable about your hospitality. I'm not going to tell someone who is unhoused that you have to get down to the district office. I'm going to be the district office to you. Stay right here, sis. They'll be down here in 15 minutes. Or here, go into this room right here. This is the computer, log on here, and this is how you get to that resource. Use this place right here. You don't have to go to the public library. Use our public school. Go right in here and use it, and somebody will come in and help you. You don't know how to read? I got you. Let me walk you through this, because this language right here is most materials written at an 8th grade language. Most materials written at 8th grade language, but if you stop school in the 6th grade, you still gonna struggle. Let me help you. Let me help you. And it's creating the conditions to where I can actually know that that's a need. I can know that that's a need. Okay, you grandma? All right, grandma, come on in. Because if grandma bringing you to registration, that means there's something happening in that family dynamic. Where your mother? So let me talk to you and make sure that that grandmother can be able to share that story, because that grandmother may not have had kids in the system for 25 years. All right, grandma, let me show you what we need to do. That's educating those who may not have the typical, what we consider normalized whiteness rearing. That's how I would answer that.
On your board, are there parent advocates or someone who is responsible for advocating for parents in the system?
We all should be, but again, a board counts, you have to make policy by 3. We all should be advocates for students. We all should place students in the center of all of our decision making. We don't. But if we place students in the center, that means we place parents in the center. That means we place the outcome in the center. See, there's only one group that I work for, and I work for students. That's the group that I work for. And I work for those students who don't have a choice. When I have parents that say, if you don't do this, I'm taking my child to, okay, listen, I can't build a fence high enough to keep you in. I'm working for those that this is their neighborhood school. They don't have a choice but to go to Lupine Hills. They don't have a choice of private school. They don't have a choice of being homeschooled. They don't have a choice of going to another school in the district. This is their school. So that's how I build my governance. How do I ensure that the child that has to go to Lupine Hills is the best version of itself? Policy. See, we have a zip coded district. You should not be able to get one set of education in El Cerrito and a different level of education at Kennedy High School or in Richmond. It should not be like that. But we are zip coded because zip codedness is part of the whiteness that's in the system. I want to tell you about the school board. A school board, like many elected offices, the first time you get in is on popularity. How many people like you versus the other guy or the other gal? That's popularity. You stay in it, sister, because you have the qualifications, hopefully, to govern. You stay in it because of governance. We move by 3 and we set policy. As a school board, if we do not have student-centered policy, then we're doing a disservice. When we talk about student-centered policy, I'm talking about what is the training that we require our teachers to have. Do we require our teachers to conduct themselves at a level of unreasonable hospitality? Do we train our office staff to know when a family comes in that is that doesn't have a house? Does our office staff know this is the number to fit, this is the number to face, this is the number to community engagement, this is how you do it? If we're not doing that work on adults, then students suffer. All students suffer, but especially those that need us to do our jobs and to do our jobs well.
And what you just said is true no matter what city or state or school board you're in. That requirement to build neighborhood schools, that view that student-centered education is true, whether it's in Texas or North Carolina or DC or Michigan, Missouri or Washington State or wherever it is across the country. That view, that governance, the school board trustees are the governing body, and that it should be student-centered governance. And setting that standard is the job.
Well,
yeah,
it's the job
that doesn't change. That doesn't change.
It's one of those things that when I was a teacher, and this is what happened before I was trained. When I was a teacher, a student would come in that I haven't seen in a couple of days, and my first thing is, where you been? Do you know how harmful that is? That is a harmful way of talking to a student. I learned and I was trained that instead of saying, where you been? You switch it. Nice to see you.
That's
I'm
right.
glad you're here. I am glad we are a better class because you're here. That switch is what the difference between punitive education and true student-centered education looks like.
Because one is a microaggression or a passive-aggressive way of speaking. And I learned it not as a teacher, but actually in my leadership role, right? In leadership, it's you're taught the same way, but
and
especially with children.
And it's about training, and then it's about accountability. Once I train you, I then need to hold you accountable to it, because I've never said it again. As a teacher in the classroom, I never say, where you been? It's always, hey, it's nice to see you. I'm so happy you here today. Come on in. The classes are better. But if I would not have a level of accountability, self-accountability first.
That's right.
Then accountability to my check. Because if my principal had said, say it again, I'm gonna write you up. That's accountability to my check. We need to be able to not only have self-accountability, but we need to have accountability to the check. People ask me all the time, Jamila, how do you get racism out of schools? Fire them. If I can hold your check, then I can hold your behavior. You an adult. I hold your check. I hold your behavior. I can't love you out of being racist. If I could, you would stop being racist 400 years ago. I cannot love America out of being racist. What I can do is I can bankrupt it out of being racist. I'm gonna fire you. That's the key to changing education, is to hold the adults accountable through their check and stop trying to hold them accountable through their heart. Stop holding people accountable through their heart. Listen, human beings, especially human beings in America, are heartless. They already proved it to you. They don't have to prove it to you over and over again. The system is heartless. Its system was built by heartless people. So if the system was built by heartless people, then people are heartless because they built the system. So I don't want to change your heart. I want to attack your bank account. And if I attack your bank account, I change your behavior. Listen, just like we ask students to behave from 8:30 to 3 o'clock, I'm asking teachers to do the same thing. You can do whatever you want on the weekend. When you come up in here, you love Hakeem just as much as you love Sarah Jones. That's it. And they gonna feel it. They gonna feel it. Like the young man that you showed at the very beginning. Feel it. He may hate children. Don't hate them up in here. Up in here, you're gonna do, if you want that check at the end of the month, this is how you're gonna behave for 30 days.
The make
But
the what do you call it? The Walt Disney principle.
absolutely. Smile up in here.
Smile. You
You're gonna,
love children.
if you want that check. Now, if you don't want that check, you can go out there and do whatever you want to do. But if you want that check and I'm putting children in front of you, there's a level of expectation that I require. There's a level of expectation I require. People say, Jamila, you don't like teachers because you didn't vote for a raise. That's not true. I like students more. I like teachers. I just like students more. And if I've got students that are reading at 20% proficiency, 20%, that means 80% of our students can't read at their grade level. I'm not going to focus on your raise. I'm going to focus on what happens in this classroom. What are you doing? What are you doing for these kids?
Stopping.
I am a teacher. I know that nobody gets into teaching because you're teaching because you think you're going to own a lake house. That's not what we got in it for. Teaching has never been one of those professions that you can be able to own 3 houses with. That's not how this country sets it up. Other countries treat teachers as a high commodity. We do not. We have this, what's the old saying? Anybody can teach. Those who can't teach. That's how we set it up. That's how this country sets it up. Those who can't teach. Now, teaching is a skill. Teaching is a skill and can't everybody do it. My daddy used to tell my brother something and he told him something clear. Every girlfriend can't be a wife. Every girlfriend can't be a wife. Everybody can't be a teacher. Teacher, educating is a skill. Educating is a skill and you need to be held accountable to that skill. You can't kill 15 people and still be a doctor. They're going to take your license. They're going to take your license. You can't be a good lawyer and lose every case. You're not going to be a lawyer no more. But we keep teachers in here to the day we roll them out on a gurney.
True.
And every student that passed by them ain't been able to read. It can't be all the students' fault. It's got to be some of that line of education too.
Well,
If all three of my children, I mean all three of them end up in prison, somebody better start looking at me. They always raised by me. Look at me. 1, okay. 2, if all 3 of them, you need to take a look at me. If you've been teaching for 75 years and every last one of your students took that test and they don't pass, I need to start looking at you. It ain't them kids.
well, have you seen improvement in the reading proficiency in WCC, or are you
No.
saying it's still at 20%?
It's still at 20%. And it's
Third
been
grade.
at 20. It's been at 20%.
Yeah.
It's been, which means we are graduating students who don't read at the 12th grade level. We are graduating kids who do not read at their grade level, but they walk out of this system with a diploma and they're not reading at 12th grade. And our math scores are even worse than that. So we're graduating students who cannot do Algebra 1 level math. Algebra 1 is that basic level of 9th grade math. We are graduating students who can't do this. If you take a look at our students that go off to the UCs and the CSUs and go off to college, the question that nobody wants to ask is, how many of them got to take them remedial classes?
Well, now that you said that, I just read on LinkedIn, there's a professor at Cal who just posted on LinkedIn. She said, this is sad. I just had to teach algebra to my Calculus 1 students. She just posted this yesterday. She said, I'm having to go over Algebra 1 principles to my Calculus 1 students. I just read it last night and I'm like, they're in your Calculus 1 class? It's amazing. And the comments are coming in fast and furious. I'm going to find the link so that I can show it to you guys. This is at Berkeley, the #1 business school in the country, in the nation. And this is where they're graduating from. Do you know how hard it is to get into Cal right now? So it's not like it's only one school district. This is from everywhere. And she's having to do remedial math skills. So this is coming from all over the country.
I
That
asked
they're just
somebody,
not learning it.
Just one final question. What do you, well, I'm sorry, it's two parts. In the curriculum that is being used, which has diverse population, do you feel enough emphasis is being put on our human identity as opposed to our different ethnic identities? That's a part of it. And what is your thought of what has to be done there in West Contra Costa County and across the nation to really bring our public education system to be even competitive with some of the other countries that have students performing at grade level and above?
I think that we need to treat education as we need to put more value on it. To put more value on education means that we have to not only raise the standard, but raise the level of accountability. I think that we have to understand that this is not something that everybody can do, being an educator. I think that we need to go to the teacher training. I think we need to have parent training. I think that we need to have systems that have to be shook to their core, systems that have to be interrupted. The education system needs to be interrupted and it needs to be dismantled. Because when you sit into a classroom, and even when I was in school in that third grade class, and you're teaching a lie to students, then you can only expect students to be liars. So if you do not teach the truth to students, you cannot then hold them accountable to be truth tellers. So if we're looking at our history curriculum, and we're looking at our science curriculum, and if we're looking at our math curriculum and our English curriculum, and we are not talking about Blackness in that, we're lying. If we only talk about Blackness in education in February, we are liars. So when we talk about math, and we're not taking it all the way back to where math was created, and we are not giving that sense of understanding and, dare I say, pride in who we are as Black people in this country, then how do we expect them to hold their education as a value? They don't hold it as a value. We need to have our children, the children that have to fight this system, we have to hold it as a high level value. When I was a child, education was not an option. You go into school. You go into school. I was getting ready to say that when we were talking to people who were looking at our students for internships, and they said, I cannot hire your students as interns because your students can't read a tape measure. Can't hire them. I can't hire them in welding and construction, and they can't read a tape measure. So it's that skills. I believe that if we start focusing on skills and we get away from content and we get to skills, and we will have better students at the end of it. Life skills, math skills. Math is a literacy. Math literacy. We have literacy. When we talk about literacy, it's not just reading. It's reading, writing, communication. That's literacy. That's whole person literacy. It's someone who can read, someone who can write, someone who can understand, and someone who can communicate. That's literacy. When we talk about math literacy, we're not just talking about calculations. We're talking about problem solving. If you look in the field of STEM and STEAM, right? When we add STEAM to it, and we're talking about arts, how do you express yourself? All of us have a way of expressing ourselves. Do you know your way of expressing? Do you draw it? Do you sing it? Do you do it through music? It's really digging into the curriculum, but knowing that if you dig into the curriculum and you interrupt the curriculum, what are you going to replace it with? Because what do you want at the end? What do you want at the end? You know, you got a group of children now who don't know how to write a check. Paper checks still exist. Savings accounts still exist. I know some of us who grew up in the church know what tithing is. That's we had to know percentages at 5. Tithe your 10%. Your allowance is $5, tithe your 10%. That was teaching percentages. Those of us who were 16 and worked in the industry of restaurant industry, we knew very quickly what 15% tip was. Now, we may not have known if we sitting on that test, but we didn't have a teacher that says, you know this. I just saw you at Texas Roadhouse. I know you know 15%. I tell you, the first thing my daddy taught me when I went out for a job was how to count change back. The computer didn't have to tell me if it cost $20 and you gave me 16, what I owed you. My daddy taught me that. So these are the things that I'm saying that my daddy told me that he said, Jamila, you gave your children everything that we didn't give you, but you taught them nothing that you was taught. It shook me. I'm raising 3 kids and I didn't teach them anything that my daddy and my mama taught me. I gave them everything that I thought I wanted and that I didn't get, but I didn't teach them everything that I was taught. Everybody on here by the age of 12 was cooking a full meal. I guarantee you, I will put dollars to donuts that everybody on here knew how to cook a full meal at the age of 12. Everybody on here, I guarantee you, knew how to sew a button or how to change a tire or how to know what their car needed. If that noise, you knew what that car meant.
Mm-hmm.
You knew how to find your email because we didn't have Siri or Google. We had them big old encyclopedias and we probably didn't have A through Z. We were probably missing a couple because we didn't know that they cost money. But the people who would come and sell them encyclopedias, we knew. We knew how to look something up. My daddy never told me how to spell anything. He would say, go look it up. Go look it up. Go find it. Go find it. Those are the things that I'm telling you, sister, that we are missing in the system of education. And if we want to have productive citizens, like the ones that are sitting on the screen, and we want to have people who are able to withstand civil rights. Everybody wants civil rights until people tell you, oh, that means that you have to walk and not ride the bus. Then this generation is like, whoa, wait a minute. What you mean I got to walk instead of ride the bus? That's what it looks like. I'll tell you what I tell all Black parents. Black parents tell me all the time, Jamila, this system doesn't like me. I said, keep all Black kids out of the district for 4 days. I bet they start to like you then. Your child is the money in the district. Keep them out for 4 days and watch how quick the district becomes pro-Black.
Tell them the story. Tell them the story of the Sikh real quick. And then I want Brother Fleming, I know he has to ask you a question, but tell him the story of the Sikh students really quick.
There was a group of students and the school site said that they couldn't wear their the knife,
the traditional saber so these are Sikh students,
Sikh students.
Right?
Sikh students.
They couldn't wear their traditional
it's a saber.
They couldn't wear their traditional saber. Let me tell you something. No Sikh kid in the district showed up for a day and a half. You know what was at the district office? Everybody was learning about Sikh. And then everybody was like, okay, bring in your people so we can figure out how to make this work. They can wear it now. Took 1 day. Took 1 day of coordinated effort to keep those children out. And it was not just Sikh students. It was Sikh students and then their accomplices, those who agreed with them. Everybody stayed out. And when everybody stayed out, the district took a hit financially. And when the district took a hit financially, the district started moving what we would like to say immorality. Then they got on the phone and they called every Sikh leader in and they said, what can we do to get your kids back into this school and their friends back into this school? You can have advocacy if you have dedication to what the advocacy is going to look like. And again, if you are going to be a buffalo and run into the storm. Them kids, some of them kids were seniors. Some of them kids, if they missed a day, that would impact. They didn't care because this was bigger than them. It was bigger than them. It was like, you will respect me because I'm owed this education. You are not going to tell me that I can't wear or do. We had the same thing with one of our Muslim students at the high school next door to me. She could not wear the PE clothes. They were not modest. And her PE teacher kept docking her every single day for not wearing the outfit. Nobody should get an F in PE. It's PE. Nobody should get an F in physical education. That girl got on the phone and she called up everybody, including the newspaper. And we were like, oh, sis, you can wear what you want. Do what you want, friend. It's okay. Nope. You wear exactly what you need to do to make sure that this is a system. If you shine a light on the wrongs in the system will change. The problem that I have with our African-American community is we said it's okay for too long. We've said it's okay for our children to be called monkeys. We said this happens now, every day. It's okay for our children to have the N-word spoken to them ad nauseum on campus. We've said it's okay, and the system has said, cool, you don't think it's a problem? I'm not going to change. That's the system. What we need to do what we need to do, set a standard and say, this is what we will not accept for Black children, and then keep them out for 4 days and watch how the system says, you're right, we don't accept that. What I do as a board member, I'm trying to get ahead of it. So as a board member, I'm saying we need an anti-racist policy. As a board member, we need an anti-slur policy so we can let parents know that we are seeing what's happening to your children, and we are taking concerted efforts to get in front of it because we know it's a racist system, and we want to make sure that you know that we see your baby unreasonable hospitality. Now, the next step that I'm doing in my leg of this school board race, in this school board job and positionality and the blessing that God has gave me, now I'm going to be able to attack that check. What I talked about before. You can't come up in here and hear the N-word and not say nothing to students. I'm going to attack your check. You the adult. You should know that racialized harm is harm because they can't come up here and say everything else. But you allowing them to say this, I'm going to take your check. I'm going to take your job. I'm going to take your job. I'm complete. That's where I am.
Brother Fleming, go ahead, sir. I know you've been waiting patiently over there. I'm watching.
We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a simple reason. Listen twice as much as you talk. But Sister Jamila, thank you, and thank you again. I've had a full life in education at one point for about almost 30 years, from the college level down to being a principal. And I know everything you're saying is so accurate even today, even more so because when I was coming through, the average child had some kind of self-esteem of importance. It came from the household. Mine came from my grandfather, who was not formally educated. I think he said he went 2.5 years to school in South Carolina. He owned a grocery store. He had a little hustle on the side, selling some kind of beverage in Darlington County down there. He gave him enough money to move to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, to purchase some items. And he worked with the city during the daytime. He owned his store as a second enterprise, and that's the environment I grew up in. So I was never in doubt about my own self-esteem because of him. And I carry his first name today, in fact. So, but a lot of our kids, unfortunately, they come in with doubt about their own worth. And that's what we have to sort of fill in the gap as educators. And I always call my students budding scholars. In fact, I went to a service this Sunday at a friend, a faith house, and I was not expecting this, but leaving a place, and one of my students said, "Mr. Alamin, I remember you." I said, "You do? You taught me how to say nomenclature." I said, "Who in the world?" I'm trying to go back because I would force my students to speak, with a few other things. They're required to have certain books in my room, thesaurus, a dictionary, etc., because I wanted to be able to effectively communicate whatever they had to say. And the last thing, when I was a principal in Ohio, we used the 7 intelligences for all students to evaluate students through a portfolio. And that requires a lot of time investment. You just can't use a pencil and paper test to evaluate someone's intelligence. It doesn't work that way. And you're missing a bigger part of the creativity of a child. It's an investment in time. But any parent who really wants to see where the creative skills are for the children, take the time to look up Howard Gardner's 7 intelligences and see where your child's basic orientation might lean toward, and demand that that school system teach him in that fashion, because that's where he or she will be successful. And the last thing, this per capita expenditure they give for children that you refer to, that the state provides, those dollars, it's never fair. I'll be very specific. In North Carolina, we've had a lawsuit called Leandro for about 25 years because the state constitution says you're required to provide every child with a quality education. Now, you have 100 counties in North Carolina, 5 urban, 95 rural almost. Some of those rural counties don't have nearly the kind of money they would have in an urban setting. So they sued. They said, our kids don't have this, 1, 2, 3, we're going to sue the state. 25 years. This year, the Supreme Court of North Carolina changed. By change, I mean it went to the R instead of the D. They actually brought the case up and said, essentially, they don't have to hear the case anymore. In other words, they dissolved the case and the petitioners from going further in their suit, even though prior to that current makeup, they said the state owed them $25 billion. So I'm just sharing that to show you how this whole thing of inequality still exists in the school system. If we don't fight, stay engaged, and demand a change, it won't change. And finally, I saw a movie called Lean on Me. I think we have a female version, Sister Jamila, for today's children. Thank you very much, Jamila. Peace be unto you.
Brother Fleming, can you put in the chat the name of the book? I think Brother Ismail, if you look at the chat, you mentioned the book
Seven
called
Intelligences. Yeah, Howard Gardner. It's called Seven Intelligences.
I love that. So Jamila's the new Joe Clark, is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
I
She's our
love it.
current version.
You should see her though. You see her when she's around that playground. Sister Manira, I see you came off of mute. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, we can.
I wanted to ask a question. And I agree with, oh, it's just been awesome, everything that has been said. I'm actually gonna go back and replay this for myself and put the transcript on so I can capture my notes. I couldn't type fast enough to keep up with it. So all praises due to the Most High. But even when I went to college, um, and I've been a student all my life, in between raising children and going to school and working and going to school. So after I became a Muslim and um, Imam Muhammad taught us to investigate and look at things from the root and follow the logic to its natural conclusion. I remember having to take a class, uh, and it was a history class, and they were still teaching that Columbus discovered America. And I raised my hand immediately, and I had just listened to a lecture from Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, who came to Washington University in St. Louis at the time, with his book that came before Columbus. And I immediately raised my hand and said, well, Africans were here before Columbus, so he did not discover America. And her reply to me was, well, if you want to pass this class, you're going to have to write down Columbus. How can parents advocate for truth and learning for students who are still teaching or providing indoctrination to support whiteness in our school districts? How can they advocate and change that when you can prove that what they're teaching is not factual?
So school boards adopt curriculum. So you go to the school board and you go to the school board in mass and you go to the school board with your ask and then your demand, right? So when you go to the school board with your ask and when you go to the school board with your demand, you hold that line. If you want our children in this school, then this is what's going to be taught. Now listen, and then you have to take that hit. If they say we don't want your kid, cool, I'm gonna go find my kid. I'm gonna go put my kid in a different district, and you have to accept that. But you hold the line. Hold the line. They will bend. They're politicians. They're gonna bend. They're gonna bend because they don't want to be on the news. They're gonna bend because they don't want to be seen as unfriendly to the minority community. They're gonna bend. Now you have something. Now this is coming from privilege because I'm in California. Right, I'm in California. California different than being in North Carolina, being back in Alabama. In Alabama, we learned two things. The tree that we play in is the same tree that our ancestors hung from. I'm telling you a strategy for California. I'm telling you a strategy for the East Coast. I'm not telling you a strategy for the South. I'm definitely not telling you a strategy for the Midwest. I don't understand that level of racism. But I'm telling you the California level of racism, them politicians. Them politicians. So you telling me I'm in the state of California, the most progressive state or whatever, and I got to sit here and bring my child to a school that still says that Columbus discovered America. That's what you telling me, state of California? That's what you holding it to? Absolutely not. I'm going to take my black dollars, which is my black babies, and we're going to go somewhere else. You also have to set up a system for how do you hold that. When we did the civil rights, everybody talks about not riding a bus. Don't nobody talk about how they had carpooling. Nobody talks about how they had the brothers on the corners because the sisters would have to walk late at night. So you had the brothers standing there so they wouldn't get accosted. There's strategy to this. There's strategy. So when I hold my child out for 4 days and they're not coming to the school building, I'm registering for independent study. That means they cannot hold my child accountable for not turning in the work. You have to know the strategy behind it. You have to understand that it's not just the action, it's understanding their reaction and turn around and having another action for that. It's systems. So if you really want to create culture change, get you some strong Black people on these boards that are not scared to tell you how to win. They're not scared to show this how you win. This what you do. I'm not scared to tell Black parents, keep your babies out for 4 days, but do it in mass. Do it in mass, because then the district will come to you. Well, Jamila, you're not loyal to the district. You doggone right, I'm loyal to students. I'm not loyal to the district. The district's a system.
Right. Right.
Y'all put me in here. Y'all put me in here so I will be able to learn the system, so I can be able to teach other people how to navigate the system until y'all willing to change the system. Now, if you want to destroy the system, I'm here for that because I know how to rebuild it.
Right.
Mm.
So
Yes,
hold on.
I
Let
have
me
a
get.
follow-up.
Okay, go ahead, Manira, and then I want to get Ishmael in here real quick.
Okay, yes, and I learned so much today, and as far as paradigm shifts, and what you said at the beginning of your presentation was so I agree with it 100%. This educational system is not designed for us to succeed. It is designed for failure, and in recognizing that as parents, we have to advocate for our children and not use that word or you're going to fail but shift it to make them think, say, well, this was your first attempt in learning. The acronym for fail is the first attempt in learning. What can you do differently to get the grade that you want? And I find for myself, when I ask a question of myself and my mind on my conscious and subconscious level will search for the answer, because the brain is a computer. And you sit at a computer and you ask a question, and especially now with AI will say, 1 minute, I'm thinking, and search all the material that's available to come up with a solution. The mind is the same way. So this presents an accountability level for our children and takes them out of the victim mentality to a proactive mentality where they are in charge of their learning. Nobody can fail you when you are in charge of your learning. You walk around with a computer all day in your hand if you're a teenager with a phone. So who can fail you? So that's one of the shifts I had today, and I'm gonna address that with my grandchildren. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Manira. Brother Ishmael, I know that you've been listening and waiting patiently. Come on, brother.
Yeah, I really have, and I'm amazed. You know, most of the time people raise their hand in the middle of somebody talking. It was nobody raised their hand. Everybody just listening. We love it. Thank you, sis. We love it.
Absolutely. Tell her where you're calling from so she'll know.
I'm from Dallas, Texas. So yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, you gave us we may have had some of these concepts, but for me, you gave me more strategies that I may have not used, in the past, even though I wanted the same results that you were giving. And just my what I've learned, I had my son I had at one time, and then I had a daughter 9 years later. And for me, with my son, I made some changes. With my son, I would tell him, man, that's not true. Don't believe in Santa Claus, don't believe in fairy tale, whatever, fairy godmother, whatever, fairy, who the tooth fairy and all that stuff. And he'd go to class and start telling the students that. So with my daughter, I had to change because she's inquisitive. So I didn't give her the same thing. I said, what do you think? Because she asked me questions. I remember at 7 years old, she was, they was talking about tooth fairy, and she was with her family, and she said, you get any money for your tooth? And she's like, yeah, they gave me some money. And she came back to me later, said, Daddy, that tooth was out 2 days before that, and I didn't tell nobody. I didn't get money until I told them that I lost my tooth. So with that, she understood that, okay, it's one thing. And I tell them the same thing about
it's one thing to believe something, but then you got to do your own research. So she understood that, okay, this is just something people tell. And I say that about with Columbus. I had to explain to them, okay, there's different levels of learning. They tell you that stuff, it's on a basic level. They tell you that for, rhyming, it's just, but once you get to a higher level, you understand more. Well, it wasn't quite that he discovered it, and I call them, that's about religion. Anything you're taught, most people teach you everything on elementary level, even in religion. They don't want you to really truly understand it. So that's what I've tried to do with them now, that, okay, it's different levels of understanding, and you let people be where they are. I'm gonna give you everything you need for you to do the investigation to get higher and higher, because it becomes more and more. And again, I appreciated the presentation, and I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ishmael. Appreciate
My
that.
my oldest, who's a scientist, the 21-year-old, when she was 7, she lost her first tooth. And I was like, are you going to put it under your pillow for the tooth fairy? She said, why would I give somebody my DNA? I knew right then she built different.
Oh yeah, she's different.
Right
that was me.
She
that was
built
me.
different. So that when she said that, I knew I had to parent different. I had to parent different.
That
and
was
I
me.
had, again, it was mourning the expectation of, I'm a mommy and I get to do all of these things, and she's just going to be so excited. And all my little girl wanted to know was the truth. How dare you tell me that I'm going to give my DNA? She was my father. I was raising my father. So it was one of those things that know your children. Know your children. And to Brother Ishmael's point, he was like, I had to parent 2 different ways. I had a son and I had a daughter, and I had to adjust to that because they're 2 different individual people raised in the same household. You a different parent with each one of your children. I'm a different parent with each one of my children. They have the same pillars, but I'm a different parent with them. I give them everything that they need. And now I'm trying to pull back from giving them everything they want and give them everything they need. I'm complete.
Yes. Okay, and Sister Martha, so let me tell you, Sister Jamila, I'm number 4 of 6, and I was that one. Now, all the rest of them, they just wanted the money, and so they pretended that there was Tooth Fairy. Me, I was like, my mom said, put it under the pillow. I said, now I know you putting the money under there, but I didn't tell her that. I just said, okay, but can you tell them to leave my tooth somewhere that I can get it later?
It's a crazy concept. We're telling
I
our
want the
children,
money, but I want my tooth back.
but it's a crazy concept. We're telling our children, don't talk to strangers, but I'm gonna leave the window open for a stranger to come in, go into your bedroom when I'm not there, pull something out. It's one of those things that when we tell our children the story of Goldilocks, we need to tell it from the point of view, she will break an entry. That's a crime. She's a criminal. She
That was
broke into
me.
somebody's
That was
house.
me. And
She
she stole
got
their
into their
food.
bed. She opened up their
She stole their
refrigerator,
food.
which we know is a cardinal sin. Don't open up nobody's cabinets. You coming into a stranger's house.
She didn't wash her hands. She didn't wash her hands.
Tell the
She didn't
truth.
wash her hands.
We just
She
have
didn't
to
wash
tell
her
the
hands.
truth. I'm complete. Just tell the truth.
And my mother said you don't eat everybody's food. You don't know how you don't know how them people cook. Go ahead, Sister Martha.
I am loving it, and I almost forgot to even say anything. But to the point, I'm going to go direct to that focus point of turning out in groves or groups to defend what you know already. And I'm speaking about education as I'm in Florida, Tampa Bay area of Florida, to be exact. And to that point, we had to go before the school board and demand that all children can learn. Even after we found that arsenic was being placed in the water, and the superintendent said, well, it's not enough to cause any disturbance, but they were seeing the reflection of the scores. And so anyway, we were dealing with suspensions at large, suspension, and crimes and crime and crime. So all of that came to all children can learn, turn out, direct action. Now, on the other side of growing up and learning and doing different things, I did believe in. I didn't think of it as a fairy, but if you put the tooth under the pillow, you get some money. So alhamdulillah. But my one granddaughter, we asked the children at a mentoring center if you could see anybody, if you could have any meeting time with anybody in the whole world, who would you want to meet? And she, being the youngest of the group, 8 years old, and she said, God. Everybody was like, okay, okay. So she didn't come under the images of God being in the Son of it, all of that. She come clearly, purely being told the truth, alhamdulillah, from the way that we came to understand it. But anytime we went to a restaurant, her natural inclination. Everybody ordering a soda after that. She would be the last one, and the what you call it, the not the maid, the waiter.
Waitress.
Yes, they would say, and you, and she said water. And right today, she loves the rainforest things and things like that. So yes, you have those. I had 3 sons as well, and to have 7 grandchildren. I love the matter of teaching and detailing. And last point, yes, go look it up. They would say, but you already know the answer. Go look it up.
Go look it
Assalamu
up.
alaikum.
Mm-hmm.
Go look it up.
Alaikum
That's my
assalam.
mother's favorite. Go look it up.
Yes.
Go look it up.
And I have one more question.
Go ahead.
And I have a set of twins. And I would always wonder as I observed them growing up, it's like they came here as a team because they needed each other. Okay. My son is Dr. Spock. He's the logical. That was my name. I called him that in my head. I didn't say it to him. Here comes Dr. Spock. But he's the logical one coming to the middle. The sister is hypersensitive, emotional. Okay. But when they communicate as a team and they bounce things off of each other, they find some balance in that. And my daughter asked me one day, she said, why am I so emotional and sensitive? What am I going to do with this? And I told her that, she said, nobody gets me. I say, well, and then lately, as an adult, she even went and got tested, and they were telling her, trying to tell her, oh, you're on the spectrum. They using this language that you're on the spectrum. And I told her, I said, well, don't buy into that. You know, if we are all human beings of different languages, different cultures, different areas, and different geographies, how can we all be on the same spot on a circle? Everybody's somewhere on the spectrum. We're not all standing on the same spot. The circle would collapse and we wouldn't be able to function. You are where you are. And now we have to figure out how to navigate life wherever you're standing on this spectrum that we have. When because we are not all the same. So I think that this language is used to isolate children that they don't want to take the time to understand or take the time to make changes in how they are educated uh, to help build success. Some children need more social skills or need to be, some children with Asperger's may need to know how to read the room and how to navigate cues and how to handle life in a certain way, where a person who is highly social, I got a cousin that can command any room that she goes into. Her social skills are so great. And you have children that lack them. So it's a learning and it's an exchange of how we can learn from each other to navigate, because we need each other. We're connected in community. So this system of learning and how we have learned, I guess it will follow the same format that you gave when having truth in education, is to teaching children from where they are and not isolating them or even calling them special needs, because that's another term that is used to separate children from others and leave them open to ridicule, or you're special, or you need the short bus and all this type of stuff. Well, yeah, I am special. I'm highly specialized. I'm an individual. I have properties that you don't have. That's what makes me special. And you have properties that I don't have that makes me special. So changing the language and how children are isolated to make it easier to educate a one size fits all
You take the
is
stigma off of it.
unhealthy.
You take
Yes,
you have to
yes,
remove the stigma off of it. It's one of those things when your baby says they don't get me. The change is they get to experience me. You get to experience me, and I'm unique. There's only one of me, even my twin. There's only one of me. You get to experience me. So when we are talking to our children, and my middle daughter that has special needs, she knew she was special. And she knew she was special by her definition. There's only one of me. I walk in there, you need to look at me uniquely because there's one of me. I know that when I walk into this room, you have the opportunity to experience me. You should say, thank you, God. I get to experience this child. And she walked in, but she also, I did not let her go into a room unarmed. She knew her individual education plan. She knew her IEP front and back. So when something happened, she said, you may want to check my IEP because you breaking the law. Check the IEP. She knew who she was in that system, and she knew she was not going to be abused in that system because she understood ed code. She understood her IEP. She understood her rights. She understood. And then after understanding all of that, she was able to walk into a room with authority. You get to experience me. Teacher, I'm going to make you show me how to do it. Because she would tell a teacher, you got to come over here. Come over here. Come on over here and help me with this. How do I do this on the way that I know that I learned? I am a visual learner. Do one example, then I can do the rest of them. My child knew that. She knew how to advocate for herself so nobody could take advantage of her. Remember my third grade story. Nobody was going to take advantage of my children when they're in the system because my children knew that they had to put a demand on the system. They weren't going to give it to you. You had to demand it, require it, and hold them accountable to it because if they did you wrong, you would come tell me, call my mama.
So a child that has an IEP, a plan, the teacher, if they're not isolated in a special needs class, any teacher has to go by their IEP?
Absolutely, that's the law. So
$1
the IEP, individual education plan, is a law. It is a requirement. They cannot violate that IEP. If anybody in that system, the educational system, violates that IEP, you can sue them. They're required to do whatever's in that individual education plan, and parents have to know that. So when you go for your IEP annual evaluation, and when you set a new IEP goals, and when you set all of the things, if you don't know it as a parent, bring an educational advocate with you. You don't sign that IEP until you're comfortable with the accommodations or the modifications. There's two routes. Accommodations means that they get everything everybody else gets. It's just they get it the way that they need it. A modification means that the curriculum will be different from what they get. So you want to go in there understanding my child always had accommodation. She could wear headphones. She had 3 days to turn in an assignment where everybody else had 1 day to turn it in. She had accommodations. The curriculum was the same. She just had different pathways to getting to that end goal. There are students that have modifications. If a class has to read 3 books, your child only has to read 1 book. That's a modification because you're modifying the curriculum. Accommodating the curriculum is my child, everybody has to read 3 books. My child has to read 3 books, but my child's deadlines are backed up and my child can listen to the books on tape. That's accommodations versus modifications. But your children need to know their IEP. Now, the teacher can't say out loud that they have an IEP or the accommodation modifications. That's breaking HIPAA. But your child can say, you need to go over there and look at that IEP at a glance. Every teacher gets an IEP at a glance that shows what they are required to do inside that classroom. My child never took a test inside a classroom with everybody else. She always got to take her test in tutorial. Because a one-on-one person with her taking her test lowered her anxiety. She couldn't be able to be in a classroom with 30 people. It would heighten her anxiety because people who finished fast, she would then rush through the test. So she had to be in a room with just herself at the test. These are the part of what I'm saying that we have to navigate and educate. That's our goal. Those who know need to train people who don't, because those are how you get these children through the system. It's a system. You not only have to know the game, you have to know the referee. It's a difference. Knowing how to play a game is one thing, but if you don't know how the ref calls a shot, that's different. You have to know the game and the referees. I'm complete.
May Allah reward you for all you've shared, and it's very valuable. May you be rewarded for it.
It is. You want to say something, sister?
Yeah, this last point is very important. It's very important because historically, our community, we shy away from these labels, special ed, accommodation, and all of that. I experienced the reality of this when I was working in Berkeley. for about 4 or 5 years, I proctored accommodation exams for law students. The professors don't know who the accommodated students are. We had to handle their testing separately, as Jamila indicated. Now, her daughter, if she goes on to law school, she can take her tests in a separate room. In those 5 years when I did the accommodated exams, and not just me, there were other people who did it too. I saw maybe generously, I'll say 10 African American and Hispanic students who had IEP. There was one Caucasian student, he was very social kind of guy that stood out to me. He got his JD. The next degree he got was an LLM. And the highest one you could get is a JSD. He got all three of those. And I saw him as he graduated with those different degrees. Now, when he goes and if he sets up shop or if he is a professor on the staff, on the faculty of a law school, it's not going to say John Smith accommodated JD, JS. It's not going to say that. It's not going to say that at all. You get an attorney and he's defending you. You don't know if he had accommodation exams. That is private. Like Jamila said, that is covered by the law. The institution can't reveal it. The faculty member can't reveal it. The staff member can't reveal it. There are consequences for that. But as I said, in that 5 years or so that I did it, I could count, and I'm being generous on both hands, the number of us that knew that this guy knew it. It was obvious that he knew it. He would, if a staff person inadvertently didn't put him in the right room or didn't give, there were pregnant women that took accommodated exams. Oh, I got to lay down on my back for a half an hour. Oh, I can't sit in this chair. I got to sit in a different chair. And like she said, I can't take an exam with 20 people in the room because the that anxiety level is very, very important, especially with students who have not been trained in taking these standardized exams. If they haven't been trained in taking that, or if they have an accommodation that they need that they never got in those lower grades, it has to be documented. And we avoid the paper trail, but they use the paper trail to their advantage. They use the paper trail, they use every right, every law that they can to navigate, like the sister said, through the system to reach their goal. And so, as parents, we have to know this. Parents and grandparents, we have to know this. And we have to let our children know that it doesn't take away from them that they need those accommodations or modifications, whatever they need. If they've been created by Allah this way, they have to learn, they have to be self-aware, self-knowledge, and move towards their goal. But we got to have a strategy.
Yeah, this has been an incredible, as I knew it would be. And I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna schedule you for 3 hours when I bring you on because we'll never make 2 hours. Ever, never, ever. So in summary, let me say this. Because it was something that was said during the comments and while you were speaking. And I just want to underscore this. Language is not the problem. Racism is the problem. Language is not the problem. Racism is the problem. And so I'm going to put this challenge out that when we have students of hue, Black students, brown students, Indigenous students, they're always being told that they need to change the way they speak, the way they present themselves, the way they behave, the way that they act or respond. What if instead the educators change the way they speak, the way they listen, the way they listen, the way they behave, and the way they respond? That's the real challenge. And I say that even from my own experience, because bilingualism, and I love your definition of bilingualism, especially using Black students speaking in what could be colorful language. Bilingualism is sometimes perceived as a talent for white students, but it's a deficit for students of hue. If you have a student who speaks Spanish or Arabic, or what is the one for Black students in the house?
Ebonics.
Ebonics, or like my mom, Patois, or Cajun French, or we know Cajun French, especially in the South, or for me, Spanglish. I'm known to speak some Spanglish. Is considered a deficit because you know this so-called King's English, Queen's English, they don't even speak good English. It's considered a deficit. But when you have a white student who speaks any of these languages, oh, it's some kind of talent to be able to pick up another language. And unfortunately, some of us made the mistake of doing that, of hyping people up and giving them kudos for being able to speak a language other than English. And UC Berkeley did this study on this years ago, and we call it, so when you have these advocates who say only speak English, we call it subtractive education. That means you're trying to subtract something from the language diversity that makes up most of our culture. Our culture is very diverse. We don't all speak this one dynamic, right? So the solution is not to eliminate a part of us. It is so that everybody communicates in this very rigid way, is to expand the educational system so that we can communicate in a way that's most comfortable for us. If you can accept that some people are very like this, and we even make fun of some cultures because they speak with their hands and they speak with their face and their head, then why can't we accept that some people do speak differently? I'm gonna say this last thing and then I want to close this out. I remember when my sons were learning Spanish in school, and I had to, like Jamila, I go to the school first thing. I go and I'd speak to the teachers. I also give them a letter. Mine's a little, what does Champagne call it? My $100 words. It might look like a little book, not quite a letter, but it does. And it gives them everything about my children. And in the Spanish class, it was people who were taught this very academic Spanish, the profesora. And they would come home. It started with my oldest son. He came home and I helped him do his homework. And the profe, short for profesora, she marked it wrong. And my son was upset because I helped him do his homework. He was upset. And I said, who told you this was incorrect? He said, the profesora. I said, she's wrong. Let's go. I went to the school and I talked to her. And I say, listen here, you can teach him anything else. And you can talk to him about anything else, but don't you ever mark his work wrong when you see my initials on it. And she say that, oh, they want them to learn the Spanish this way. So before I tell you the outcome, I will tell you this. In a lot of classrooms across the country, you can have native Spanish speakers or people who come from a home that speaks Spanish, and they will put these students in Spanish 101, elementary Spanish, remedial Spanish. Jamila knows what I'm talking about. And they can be fluent in the language, but they want them to take this academic Spanish, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. You're going to take a native speaker of a Spanish or French or German and make them take this academic 101 class because you want them to speak in this particular way. that does not align with their particular culture. I can tell you right now that those who speak Spanish who are from Mexico or Cuba or Ecuador or Spain or Puerto Rico or Costa Rica or whatever, there's a particular dialect. There's a particular culture. There are words that are said in a particular that does not get said in this other area. For instance, in California, how do you say what is a Sprite? What is that? What is a Sprite? If I say I want a Sprite, what is that? What kind of drink is
That's
that?
the drink.
What kind of drink?
The soda, lemonade,
Thank you very
lime
much.
soda.
That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. So, Ishmael, you're in Texas. What is a Sprite?
Well, I think I know where you're going. I kind of know.
Uh-huh.
Some people say pop.
That's
Some
what
people say
it. That's
give.
it.
Some people say
That's,
give me a Coke. They'd
that's
be
what
like,
I'm
what kind
saying.
of Coke?
That's
So
it.
yeah, it's different.
That's it. So even in the English language, depending on where you go in the country, somebody's going to say, I know in Michigan is like that, bring me a pop. And some people will say, give me a Coke, right? They don't mean an actual Coke. But in certain areas, if you're in Atlanta and you don't go and ask for a Pepsi because you ain't getting a Pepsi, you're going to get a Coke because that's the land of Coca-Cola. And if you're in the northeast, you're going to get a Pepsi. I don't care if you want a Coke. You can't find Coca-Cola nowhere. You're going to get Pepsi. So it depends on what you say. You're going to get pop. If you want to pop, if you ask for soda in like Boston, the Northeast, it's soda water. It's not a pop. It's not like, it's soda water. It's like,
Seltzer.
what do you call it?
Seltzer water.
Seltzer water.
Seltzer.
It's like, but we call seltzer, we say seltzer on the West Coast, but it's soda water there. So just like in Spanish, there's certain words that you say different in different Spanish countries. But the academic system here, in certain instances, they don't understand that. And so words have a lot of power and meaning. So language is a very fundamental pillar of culture, and it shapes your identity, and it shapes your traditions, and it influences your community and how it's perceived and how you interact with the world. So you can't say Spanish is Spanish is Spanish is Spanish is Spanish, no matter what country you come from. So it really does tear down that child when that child is coming in school and saying, no, my mom said we don't use that word in our culture. And you say, well, I want you to use it because these what the books say. And so I went to the school and I said, I don't give a damn what you said. That's not what we say, and that's not how we talk. So if you send my son home with that paper and you X on it with that red again, me and you gonna have a problem. And I told her in Spanish, by the way. And she said, oh, perdóname, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry, we didn't know. I know you didn't know, because where did you learn Spanish? Oh, she learned at la universidad. She learned at the university. I know you did. You know how I know? Miss Chang. Professor Chang. I know you didn't learn it growing up, Professor Chang. You didn't. Not your first language, Professor Chang. So my point is that we have a duty, and today we're specifically talking about Black students because language is a cultural transmission tool. And so there are certain things that tie our children to their identity and their preservation of their tradition and their heritage. And so the way that we speak to the children, even in the schools, and Jamila said it a little bit, but some of our children are being spoken to in a way that diminishes them from the time they get into the school. And I started us with a video. And with a quote from Maya Angelou. And the young man, he wanted these children to understand that regardless of their circumstances outside of that classroom, that he wanted them to understand their value and their worth and to feel something that he sees them. He sees them. And so if nothing else, I think I wanted us to leave with that we can create, that it is possible to create a better world for these children, regardless of all the politics and everything else that's going around. That is a recreatable possibility of what he's doing. I took from that and I said, there is a way to do that. And I don't mean just yes, we can bring in haircuts and and braids and that, but the feeling that our children feel that they are special and worthy and that they are capable, and to create that atmosphere for them, that is recreatable. How we do that is up to us to help move that forward. And gracias, muchas gracias, Trustee Smith-Bowles, for giving us so many ways to do that. I want you to close it out for us.
I would want to make sure that when we are having these conversations with these administrators, we are very clear. And with the teachers, we're very clear. We don't go in and say, my child doesn't like you. We go in and say, my child doesn't feel safe in your classroom environment.
I love it.
My child doesn't feel seen in this classroom environment. My child doesn't feel heard. You put the onus back on them. Because
Absolutely.
to say that my child doesn't like you makes it my child's problem.
Right.
To say that my child doesn't feel safe at this school makes it the school's problem. So we have to make sure that when we are going in there and fighting for our children, we don't allow our children to become the problem. You the problem. You went to school for this. You get a whole check for this. You the issue. I'm going to need you to step into the gap and to be the person that I pay you to be. I be the person I pay you to be. My child should feel safe in your classroom. My child should feel seen in your classroom. My child should feel educated in your classroom. My child should feel as if they are a better version of themselves when they leave your classroom. You got them for 180 days. 180 days. And I have an expectation that when my child leaves this classroom, my child is reading at grade level. My child is being able to do their math and arithmetic. My child is being able to understand this. You know the standards. Every state has standards that a third grader is supposed to have. Print them off. Print them off, and then go into the school and say, this is the expectation. Here are the standards. This is the expectation. I'm grading your performance, Mr. X and Mr. Y and Miss Z. It's your job. I'm grading your performance. And if my child is not on the way of hitting that after 180 days, you better tell me on day 10. Tell me on day 10, because your job is to evaluate if they're able to hit that standard. That's accountability. And if they not, pull your child out that classroom and put them in another one. Put them with a teacher that is able to show you and demonstrate that their students hit these standards of feeling, behavior, and academics. Make sure that you hold that quality. You hold that standard, and don't let your child be with anybody, because anybody can't do this. This is a skill. This is education. It's a skill. And then you hold yourself accountable. Billy don't come back without his homework. Stay up late if you got to do your homework. You had that child. You decided to have that child, so you have accountability as well as the parent. Ain't nobody gonna tell me that my child is failing a class. I see them every day. I know that. And they're not gonna fail because I'm gonna then go up to that school. Why they gotta see on this paper? How are we gonna help my child become the best version of themselves? You got to be invested. This education, you got 12 years. It's a 12-year to 13 if you put them in TK. It's a 12 to 13-year investment that you as a parent owe your child. This is the dedication because you chose to have them. And if you chose to have them, you get to educate them and you get to hold all systems that touch them accountable. Same thing with the medical system. We ain't talked about that. I'm talking about the education system. They hold them accountable to it. Hold them accountable to it. It's a public education system. They owe it to you. They owe it to you, and they owe it to your scholar. Hold their feet. Last thing I will say before I leave, my daddy said accountability is a fire. You can get burned by it or you can get warmed by it, but it's going to get you. It's accountability. It's a fire. Burned or warmed, you make your decision. I don't like to get burnt, so I keep marshmallows with me. I like to warm over a fire. I like to have me a little s'mores over a fire. That's how I hold myself accountable. So to everybody that's listening, self-accountability first, system accountability second. Hold yourself accountable first, and then hold the system accountable second. I am complete.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you for that. And I think that's a good way to end it. I do want us to just, and I'm gonna bring you back for this one. I do want us to discuss how we can pivot from so many curriculums that are moving past what you just discussed, making sure we can print off what they're supposed to be learning and check it off instead of focusing so much on social issues. Because I think we've moved so much towards social issues that we've forgotten they need to go to school to learn how to read and write and do some arithmetic. And so they know all the social issues, but they can't add and they don't know how to read, but they know all the social issues. So, part 2. With that, thank you so much. And before you go, we're gonna close out real quick. Um, that's it, right, everybody? Because we got so much overtime.
Yeah, yes, we are.
So much overtime. Brother Fleming, before I say my last.
All right, then listen. I'm just going to take 3 seconds since Cristobal Colombo was brought up. 3 seconds only. He was in prison in Spain after his third trip back without gold and silver by Isabella and Ferdinand. We only know about him because of Diego, his brother, who wrote his biography. We'll talk more about that on another occasion. And I hope the next time we talk, let's deal with this nation at risk that was put out by, the first, well, anyway, that other president. And we'll evaluate that in terms of systemic harm it has done across the borderlines with our children, inshallah. All right, my job is get back on task to close us out with prayer. God don't make no junk. Put that in your classroom and tell the parents to say the same thing to every teacher they meet. God don't make no junk. Period. No discussion about that. We end with the last surah in the Holy Quran. It's called Mankind of Nis. Kula. Ooh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it in English. I'm so used to saying it in Arabic. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I seek refuge from Almighty God from the influence of Satan in my life. Say, I seek refuge with the Lord and cherish of mankind, King or ruler of mankind, from the evil whisperer, the same who whispers into the hearts of man and jinn, then withdraws after his whisper. Amen.
Sister Amatullah, anything you want to say before I close it down?
Optimal Health will be on board in about 45 minutes. That's how far over.
We went up. Are we still doing Founders Day celebration?
We did have a late say. In October, there's going to be a Community Development and Leadership Conference, October 30th through November 1st or 2nd, I believe, in Virginia. So we'll have more information on that for you. And we'll be talking about governance, education, culture, and business development.
Are we still celebrating Founders Day, Sister Amatullah?
Pardon?
Founders Day celebration. Are we still doing that this week?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You want to announce it?
Well, we want to honor those people who got this whole process started with AM360. They call them the twin servants. Brother Thomas Abdullah and his wife are still with us, in fact. So they started this effort to have this program available. So let's pay our respects, honor them. We're going to have some opportunity to come online and give your, I would say, appreciation for the work they started. And you might even want to consider a $9.99 contribution per month along the way, inshallah.
Right.
All right.
All right. Thank you. And Brother Fleming, what's coming up next week?
I got some young people that I recruited to share what they're doing in the communities on civic engagement. One will be one of the organizers for this group entitled Lift Every Vote, Lift Every Voice. He's one of the key young organizers. And we'll have another young man from the Charlotte community to talk about what they're doing in that community, inshallah. So we'll give our ears to the young people next week. Join us.
Inshallah. And with that, I say to you, in the words of my grandmother, mi abuela, change the way you look at things, and the things you see will certainly change. Stay powerful, stay purpose-driven, stay prayerful, stay politically engaged, and participate civically. do something for someone else without the expectation of anything in return. Just do it because it's the right thing to do. Take a lesson from today and apply it in your life. Tell somebody else about it. Share the podcast once it downloads with someone else. Tell them about the show. This was a great one. This is a great one. Go back, look at it again, because I know you'll find something in here that you didn't remember. And go on to AM360 CWSC, like and share the video. Follow us on social media, because it's platforms like this that allow us to get out some good information. We are here every Monday, God willing. 1 p.m. on that other coast. Noon, the middle of the country. And 10 a.m. on the West Coast. Every week. And with that, that's a wrap. We appreciate you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Peace out.
Thank Allah.